scoring 6 and Sam Topping on 12. Their usual opening partnership. As I say, third day of this festival. The Leinster Lightning have had the best of it so far. 2 wins out of 2 for them. Both these sides on the losing side yesterday. They'll be looking to bounce back today. The Munster Reds have won the toss. They're deciding to field first. And as is usual, delighted to have beside me in the comm box today Isabel Joyce. Morning, Izzy.
Morning, Ali. Good to see the sun streaming down. It is a bit chilly here in Stormont, but I think the main thing is it looks a pretty picture. Rhodey Black and Johnny Kennedy, the 2 umpires. It is Rhodey Black. We had to double check because I think I called everyone under the sun Rhodey Black yesterday.
Yeah, they've changed up the old officials. Rather than last week it was rotating 3, but Rowley has arrived today. Ian Seaver is not here today, we don't think. Mark Hawthorne's our third, so all set to get underway. On the screen there, Liam McCarthy to take the first over, bowling to Sam Topping. And straight away off the mark into the leg side. Oh, they're going to get 2. That's excellent running. Almost perfectly positioned by Sam Topping. Ben White can't come in from the boundary. So straight away, Topping off the mark with 2.
Yeah, very clever. Unusual for the first delivery to have such an awareness, but these 2, we've talked about it as ad nauseum. Good understanding. Team news. Munster Reds have 1 change. Ollie Riley in for Zubair Hassan Khan. And for Northwest Warriors, no surprise, there's 1 change there. Good reply from McCarthy. Isaac Bird in for David O'Sullivan, who got hit in the hand yesterday, so had a nasty return catch go his way. Sometimes the seam can just rip the skin. I think it was between thumb and forefinger. I didn't catch up with him yesterday, but he misses out today.
Yep, so that's the change for the Warriors. As you mentioned, probably enforced with Sullivan taking that little injury. Single, good lines to start with here from McCarthy and a good length.
The Munster Reds have, in terms of a team, they've only had 1 win so far, but individuals have been doing well, haven't they, Ali?
Yeah, it's one of the strangest things I've ever seen. You know, we're into, what is this now, game 11, so it's not as if it's a small sample. Game 11 here. I think they've got, as a bowler, top economy, top figures for an individual with Ben White. They've got the top wickets with Josh Manley, most 4s, most 6s, and the top 3 run scorers in the tournament, which is remarkable for a team that's only won 1 game out of 5 in total. And the most catches as well with Philippe Leroux.
Yeah, look, it's an amazing. Normally, you know, you can have a team at the bottom of the ladder that'll have, you know, one of the top performers in any kind of stats bracket, maybe one of the top 3 batters, and the top catchers is,
yeah,
that's not, especially if you've got the top wicket taker, you can often have the top catcher, but top 3 run scorers is remarkable. And I think it just speaks to the fact that Munster Reds do have players in form, just they don't have the other players pitching in enough. Doesn't manage to find the gap there, Andy Balbirnie. I reckon if you looked at the bottom performers,
probably the bottom 3 as
well. Which what you want is,
yeah,
you know, a couple of the top performers, and then you want everyone else kind of in the middle jostling. So if someone doesn't come off on any day, you have other people to turn to that are going to perform as well. You really have that. If you look at the Leinster Lightning bowling lineup as an example,
yeah,
George Dockrell didn't bowl yesterday. Harry Tector preferred, and he performed really well. But if he had gone the distance in the first over, there was George Dockrell waiting in the wings. Oh, that's a misfield. They don't need that. Suleiman Safi, he just stopped a much more difficult effort in cover. That one shoots through the hands. So the opening boundary goes to misfield Andy Balbirnie. First boundary of day 3 here in Stormont.
Yeah, nice piece of fielding the previous ball and then lets that one go through him. So yeah, disappointing end to the over. It would have been a decent one if that had been kept to a dot. goes for 4. 7 without loss off the first.
And I suppose the big news this morning, our best wishes to Warren Deutrom, stepping down from Cricket Ireland. 19 years as CEO of Cricket Ireland. So started in December 2006. Ali, we were chatting about it beforehand. Massive achievements in his tenure. Full membership and test status, just to name 2. Absolutely huge achievements for Cricket Ireland, and he was at the helm when those 2 things happened. So wishing him the best as he steps down. No doubt there's plenty to come.
Yeah, it's big news this morning. Let's have a chat about it. Josh Manley bowled his first ball. And yeah, you've mentioned, I mean, so I just was sort of taken aback a little bit with the 19 years. It's such a long tenure for somebody in such a high profile position. And that speaks volumes, I think, and some of the things you've mentioned there. But just what we're looking at here today, you know, the interprovincial setups, getting players coming from a fully amateur status, going to World Cups and becoming professional cricketers, contracts for not just the men we're looking at, but also importantly the women now have a much more stable base to play cricket now with their contracts. So, you know, just little things like that you know, maybe have taken a little bit of time to get there, and we sometimes forget about it, that we've come so far. You know, it's just where we are now. We need to think back to where we were 19, 20 years ago, and I think we should definitely look at that and say achievements have been really good.
He'll be in the post until the end of August, so we'll be seeing him around the place, don't worry. Looking forward to seeing what's coming next. So congratulations, Warren, on your tenure, and best of luck going forward. Josh Manley started quietly here in the best sense.
To our usual fielder in the deep. In the opening we usually see backward point, and that's where that ball went from Balburney. Slightly uppish, but no danger. Brings Sam Topping to face Manley.
Yeah, good start this from the 2 seamers from Munster Reds. Just seem quite settled today, Munster Reds. I don't know what it is about them. They just seem relaxed. Obviously 2 losses in the last 2 days for them. Leinster Lightning beat them by 6 wickets and 25 runs yesterday. But there were good signs, weren't there, Ali, in that chase from Munster Reds? It didn't feel like a collapse. It just felt like, you know, those few overs that went the distance at the back end of their bowling innings was the difference. Comes off the inside edge, that might fly away. Oh, good work in the deep. John McNally just about manages to keep it in. They'll come back for the 3rd, saves 1.
Yeah, great commitment. McNally, we mentioned him out there in that position at the boundary. He chased round a long way there and managed to just get his hand down and drag the ball back. Saves 1, all important. Hopefully just checking him out there. Just giving a little bit of a flex of his knee, but I think he's okay. Just a bit of shock hitting the turf, but I think he's fine. So that one just went backward. Yeah, look, we mentioned earlier the stats for the Reds are they're quite incredible. McNally in action again. This will be a little more comfortable. Ends the over. And a good one from Manley. And just that one real scoring shot off it. Gets 3, and it's 13 without loss after 2 overs. Yeah, I mean, there were signs yesterday that, you know, Suleiman Safi got a few runs, but, you know, he needs to build on that. It was around about a run of ball, and sort of when he got out, kind of fell away a little bit. But I think that the main problem yesterday was that last 5 over period, you know, the 70 runs coming off it plus from Pretorius and Callets kind of pushed it up to 177, and we felt that was a little bit too much, you know, maybe 20.
Yeah, I think it's the first time we've seen people outside those 3 batters we've talked about. Suleiman Safi, Cian Hilton as well. Cian Hilton took the game on, 35 from 28, so that's good. We've been talking about how they have the top performers in all the areas, but they need people coming up in between. Ollie Riley, first bowl in the competition, starts very well. That's got in between bat and pad for Andy Balbirnie. That happened a few times yesterday, that gap between his bat and pad. That hasn't missed by much.
Not the worst ball to start off with, and yeah, it's nice, because you're right, we saw that yesterday with Deverage first up, nip one back right through Balbirnie, and not just quite the amount of movement there, but rather but just enough, and a decent start.
Oh, and out.
Beautiful.
Through that gap. I think it's come off the bottom edge there for Andy Balbirnie, looking to play it down. Extra bit of pace from Ollie Riley comes in, an immediate impact from the tall man.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Stephen Doheny as captain coming in there. 2 balls into your first game in the tournament. Nips one back through the gate, a little bit unlucky with the first one, and the second, well, he's taken out Andrew Balbirnie. He scores just 6. Just watch this one, nip back from Ollie Riley. Say, what an impact.
Just too full to play that shot, I think. I'm not sure there's that much movement. It was just Andy Balbirnie had maybe decided that he was going to play that shot beforehand, got the fuller delivery, and it was the wrong option. So great early breakthrough for Munster Reds, because they'll be keen to take early wickets here against Northwest Warriors. They are a team that tend to continue to attack, so you have to keep taking wickets. They take the game on. Bar these two, they tend to have kind of hitters. Egan as well works the ball around, but beyond that, more kind of hitters down the order.
Yeah, something similar. Talking about the Reds, they've got Topping, who's been real standout so far. Obviously, Balbirnie hasn't really got a big score, but he's had his 20s and 30s. And Egan got 40 in the first game. Down the order, we've moaned about the middle order. So taking wickets up top here for the Reds will be really key. And if they can get rid of Topping here in the power play, or even now, they'll be thinking of me a shout here. Start for Riley, but you know, he's coming in today. He scored the first 2 and thrown the ball in the 3rd over, and he's already got Balbirnie back in the hutch. Great start.
Brilliant addition. He looks like he's put on some strength, doesn't he? He was tall from a very young age, and when you're tall from a very young age, not that I know much about it, but what I've seen anyway, is that the limbs are difficult to control. He's definitely grown into his height. How tall do you reckon he is? Because he's making Johnny Kennedy look short there.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like, I don't know if you ever saw Julian Goswami in the Indian team. She's maybe 1.5 foot taller than everyone else in her team back in the day. It used to be her and then everyone around giving her low fives, as you'd call them.
Yeah. This is really good stuff from Ollie Riley. Yes. Up with Breedy last week, and obviously you were with Carlos Brathwaite. And Carlos isn't the shortest, let's say that. He's a big unit. Ollie Riley, yeah. Does seem to have, not really the height on Tommy, he just seems to have filled out a little bit.
Filled out, yeah.
Yep. And
I think he has got taller there.
He may well have done. Certainly that top half there, you can see. Yeah, it's filled out a little bit shoulder wise.
Oh, edged. Oh no, just moved away. The
Shifted
movement
away,
didn't
yep. I think that's just nipped away, but you take that over and put it in the bank. That's an excellent over from Riley. You get all the congratulations from his team.
And all the thanks for coming, because this has been a brilliant over. Great addition. Look at that extra bit of lift. Topping is actually lucky not to get an edge. He's in pretty good form, so that's the kind of time you do get the edge. If you're not in form, you get nowhere near that.
Yeah, I think Ollie Riley will be really delighted that his debut comes here at Stormont, because there's definitely a little bit in it for the bowlers. Seaman spin, in fact. Listened to Harry Tector's interview last night, and he was actually talking about that. more about the bowling than the batting. We actually discussed that yesterday, was when he was bowling. Single to Egan, that, you know, when Harry Tector was bowling, is he thinking about his batting and things like that? Well, actually in his interview yesterday, he was very much focused on the bowlers and talking about how it was a better pitch for bowlers, in that there was a wee bit in it for you. And last week it was sort of bowled 3 balls in the same spot, and the last one was almost certainly going to go. Whereas in this one you can have a little bit of a plan, bolt in there, just like Riley's done there.
Yeah.
Bowl at the same spot and it will do something for you. So interesting to hear that.
Well, that's one of the reasons why it's handy being, even if you're just a part-timer as a batter, because you get into that mindset of the bowler and say, okay, the bowlers are going to have periods where they're on top, and they definitely have done here in Stormont. So maybe you need to stick at things a little bit more. Maybe you need to have plans like that. Just make sure it goes a little bit fine. If the bowler errs in line, you've got your plans. And there's that area again, Ali. The ball flies away down to fine leg. It's generally been third, but it's been a high traffic area down there.
It definitely has. Last week was the area, the sort of pavilion area it was last week, where the ball was disappearing for 6. This week it's been that little gate there that we're talking about. You can just see it in the background there. A little gate. I think the ball's disappeared down there about half a dozen times in the last couple of days.
Oh, that's absolutely smoked. Aerial, but well over Suleiman Safi in cover. A couple of boundaries back to back, and that pressure that had just been applied by Ollie Riley released as Josh Manley just airs down leg, and now 2 wide outside off.
Yeah, the most convincing shot so far. Just kind of punched there from topping, but no thought about keeping it on the deck. Punches it over point and it runs away. Not the width again, you're right, just too much width there from Manley.
That shot, you just wonder, is it deep point you need, or is it slow enough that you need cover out rather than point? A more traditional field might work a little bit better for Josh Manley. Very early to say, but it's just the first inkling that we've had that a pitch is a little bit slower, a little bit more usual Irish pitch. We've had so much sun early in the summer that batters have been licking their lips.
Definitely.
It's been the most centuries in club cricket and inter-pro cricket and Super Series cricket by a very long way in a long time. Good execution there, and good from Topping to just recognise it's a good delivery and get down the other end.
Yeah, that's what he's done. Probably better than most, really. So far he's been able to pick up his boundaries all around the ground. We've talked about his ability to ramp behind the wicket, but also when there's been a good ball, he hasn't really got stuck. There's lots of dots. He's managed to rotate strike, and his innings on Tuesday in particular, when he got 71, it was difficult, but he still managed to keep his scoring up above par. It's kept a little low. And a bounce to Hilton. And he finishes the over. A couple of boundaries, as you mentioned, one down to fine leg, but more convincing from Topping the second one. He moves to 16. Egan's on 2. 4 overs gone. 24 for 1.
A good start from Munster Reds. They'll be aware that anything above 150 difficult to chase here. Even what they got to yesterday was difficult to get to. They had to work very hard to hit 152, excuse me. So that was, they put everything into that just to get above 150. So a par score 135, 140. Do you reckon, Ali?
Well,
chance had to hit.
A big dive in from Topping, and it might have been interesting there.
Sam Topping turned around there and gave a thumbs up. So he obviously feels he was home.
That was his call.
Yeah, and it was straight to Stephen Doheney, who's one of the best fielders around. Good pick up and throw. So the fact that he felt he was home means we might see him continue to do that.
A bit of a nervous tick. He was just sort of, thanks Jake, we're okay. the fielding. One more to Egan. Yeah, just looking at Jake Egan here. He's coming up to the Warriors with Topping from places club cricket in the NCU with. So does Sam Topping. Both of them have gone up. Andrew Balbirnie obviously well documented that he's gone up to the Warriors as well. And the general consensus I think from up there is, you know, they like the fact that Balbirnie's come with his experience and he can relay that down. These are two young players. They're coming up to play basically. Backward again, here's John McNally. He'll come around and do the fielding. So yeah, and Topping obviously has hit the ground running in the Interpro 50 and in this T20. Jake Egan, a lot of talent, lots of talent, but hasn't really got the runs to back up what talent he has. He's got that 40 in the first game and looked a good player, but he would really like to, just this last game of the festival, I think he'd really like to get a 40, 50, 60 here and really just put a little bit of a stamp on it.
Yeah, fully agree. And I think there's a big difference. It's almost like being an overseas pro when you move unions or you move. I'd imagine it's the same no matter where you are. If you're from Liverpool and you go and play for Brighton in football, whatever it is, you're not treated the same as a homegrown player. You're given more leeway. And you know, from my own experience, even just thinking about playing club cricket in different places, playing in your own home club, so playing for Marion, everyone's up for you. If you do badly, go, oh, don't worry, you've tried your hardest. When you go away and play in other countries, and I'm just talking about club cricket now, so when I went to Tasmania and you get assigned a club, you go into that club and you're very nervous. You want to get a score at first few games.
Yeah.
Even because they've asked to get you. They've put money in. So the pressure is on, and if you don't do well, it's not, oh, you know, she's trying her best. It's, you know, she better start performing because, and that's in the women's game. I can only imagine it's much more difficult in the men's game. So you move unions and you're taking the spot of a local person, you're expected to perform.
Good stuff from Relic. Yeah, and sometimes the last thing you want to hear is, oh, don't worry about it, it'll come good, because you know that's not really what they're thinking. You think you better come good pretty quick here. So another great over from Ollie Reddy. He started really well in his first game. Just 5 from that one, the 5th. Good lid being kept on it here so far by the Reds. 29 for 1. There's been a little bit of a trend yesterday, I think, particularly in the 2 games yesterday. The first 5 overs in both innings for the Knights and the Reds, they were pretty sound. In the last over of the power play actually went for a few in both. So be important here for John McNally, who it is going to take the ball. Just trying to keep this little bit of pressure that they've developed in the first 5 overs and not let it sort of get up to that 40 mark.
Topping's going to take it on mid-off, up inside the ring, lifts it over. Dohney in mid-off starts out the final over of the power play with a boundary.
From what I'm saying, the converse is true then. The Warriors will understand that this is the last over where only 2 players can be outside the inner ring. So you can sort of see that Sam Topping was almost picking his spot there.
Yeah, it's been quiet outside the power play, hasn't it? And it's the back end where if someone's set or 2 players are set, you can really launch. But making use of this over, very important. Let's come off the pad. A useful one for John McNally.
Yeah, Topping will be a little bit disappointed there at falling leg stump. And even if he misses there, even the deflection off his pads, he would have hoped that would have deflected down to our favourite area for 4.
Cian Hilton did well. Good length from John McNally. Fuller that time doesn't give Topping the opportunity to go aerial. He just shifted leg side, looking to get it over those 2 men. 3 men, in fact, in the ring on the offside. Still a deep point out there. wide ball. Topping had scampered down. He had to quickly make his way back to his ground. If that had been a spinner, it would have been curtains for Topping.
He did that early in the over with that little deflection as well. Kind of thinks that it's going past Hilton. He will get one for that one with the extra. He might get another one. Yep.
Yeah. For me, John McNally too wide of the crease here, bowling over the wicket to the left-hander. Have a look how wide he's almost at the tram lines there. If you can bowl tighter to the stumps, maybe he's worried about getting off the pitch. I'm not sure, but very difficult to get it across. And if you from that angle, if you go across, it's really leaving. It's very difficult to get any wicket-taking deliveries. So he's going to come around the wicket.
Yeah, he's going to change it up. Come around the wicket to Topping. Obviously not his plan A, but plan A is not working.
And success right through Sam Topping. I think there were a number of different options going through Topping's head, and in the end didn't get the bat down in time. Extra bit of effort from John McNally around the wicket, and just hits the top of off. Amazing how often that's effective. Both openers gone now. This final over the power play, maybe not going the way Northwest Warriors were hoping. Topping goes for 24 from 22, and Northwest Warriors 35 for 2.
Yeah, maybe that was the plan all along. We'll bowl a couple of wides over the wicket, and then we'll go around the wicket and we'll just knock back the off stump. Nice piece of bowling. His bowling coach this week will be Ran Eagleson, and he'll be delighted with that. There you go, he loves to say top of off. Topping can look at the deck, I think, but a good piece of bowling for me from John McNally. Great comeback after those 2 wides, and a really, really good wicket for the Reds. They've got rid of certainly this tournament's top player for the Warriors, Sam Topping. He's gone, and that brings the left-hander to the crease, Andy McBride.
A good coaching moment for any bowlers out there that maybe struggle bowling wides to a left-hander. If you're finding you're bowling wides down the leg, then oftentimes it means you're just not holding your shape in your action. If you come around the wicket, because you've got to bring the ball back into the left-hander, you tend to finish your action a little bit better. So you can do it just as a way to get your action right, and then you can go back over if that's where you're more comfortable or you think it's a better plan. It is a good way to make sure you're getting through your action. John McNally remaining around the wicket, slip in. Off the mark. Andy McBride's been busy this week.
Yeah, captain as well. Don't forget, so he's got that as well. He's been well used to it. Obviously, he's been captain of the Warriors for some time now. Yeah, he's been coming in a little bit higher in the order for the Warriors this tournament. Obviously not in Ireland's T20 plans right now.
We'll punch down the ground. It's going to yield 2, I think. I think these two will enjoy batting together. This is exactly the right time for them to come together, just outside the power play. So 6 overs gone. And you'd say it's pretty even. Maybe Munster Reds shading it ever so slightly with those 2 wickets. 38 for 2.
Yeah, I think so. 2 wickets to the Reds, and just the 2 wickets that they've got, given what we've witnessed so far over the first 5 days. Obviously your openers are key wickets at all times, but just for this particular team, the Warriors getting rid of Topping and Balbirnie. Big partnership now for these 2. I think you're spot on in that this is a perfect time for them to be together. We've talked about the bigger expanses here at Stormont, and just maybe something to look for is how many singles can they turn into 2s in the next 4 or 5 overs. It's going to be as per. Helmet comes on for the keeper, telling you there's a spinner coming on, and it's the leg spinner, Ben White.
Yeah, these are the working overs. You've got to apply yourself, be willing to do some running. Starts with a short one. Andy McBride's aware that two fielders very close together backward of point. So maybe the cut shot, he feels he can't get many runs there. Decides to go for a little pull to the leg side. Pretty windy day here in Stormont, as you might be able to hear.
It's going to be 4. Saw it a couple of times yesterday that the slight miscue hasn't really middled it, Egan, but gets that little bottom edge on it, and as soon as you beat the fielder, it's going to run away. Slightly shorter again from Ben White. And you can see, despite the keep your eye on the ball, just come into the ground a little bit early for a bit of fielding there.
Really flighted delivery. The first two stuck in the hand. The third one is a full toss, and Ollie Riley makes a good effort but can't stop it. Just trickles into the rope. Back-to-back boundaries.
Yeah, a bit of a freebie there for Jake Egan. A little bit unlucky. Only Riley. We've seen some good boundary right fielding this week.
I think ahead, yeah, I think that's going to run away as well. The early morning dew not doing its job of slowing it up, so outside the power play we said it's going to be workmanlike. Not so as the 50 comes up for the Northwest Warriors.
Well, yeah, what an over. We talked about this was going to be 1s and 2s. Certainly not. 3 4s on the bounce for Egan.
A dot. You can see the frustration in the body language there for Ben White. First two boundaries, poor deliveries. You have to feel for him on the third one. A good finish to the over there with the dot and a single, but an expensive one for the Munster Reds. 14 from it, and after 7, 52 for 2.
Yeah, as you mentioned, two poor deliveries, let's say, in his opening over there that went for 4. A little bit unlucky with the third, but yeah, decent over.
I think
Warriors.
It's a good mindset though, because you know that Jake Egan likes to work it around. You know he wants to run it, but when the opportunity arose, he was ready to go for boundaries. Back to Nabi into the attack. 1 for 32 yesterday. I think is, as we've said so often, his final over in the 4 went the distance, and I think for the Munster Reds that's been something that's been noticeable. They haven't had 6-7 bowlers, so they can go and give bowlers 3 in general. Well, that's very full to be playing on the back foot. Thought Bakhtir Nabi was in the wicket straight away.
Yeah, I do think he's a predominantly back foot player. Interested note when he comes back on strike height, he's one of these players that really does go low in his crouch, especially to the spinner. It's what we've talked about, to try and keep your eye level a little bit lower. With the spinner, he does get really low when he's facing spin. And a left-hander, McBride.
And gone. He was in the wicket straight away, almost straight away anyway. Second delivery, I thought it was going to be the first, but McBride just chips the catch ever so slightly, holding in the pitch. Throws his head to the sky, Andy McBride. Spinner gets spinner out. That never pleases the Mally. Big moment. McBride, the real worker in the Northwest Warriors lineup, goes for 2 from 3. Northwest Warriors 53 for 3.
I think you can see from the pictures on your screen there, Andy McBride won't be rotten with that. Played through the ball, probably would have been safe enough down the ground, but just holds again. He chips that back Yeah, there you go. His head up and he knows. You could probably put that anywhere, and the very last place he wants to put it, straight back to the bowler. And the third wicket down, and another big one. We talked about this was a big partnership and that they could run really quickly between the wickets. And once again, Graham Hume's in pretty early.
Yeah, I mean, Graham Hume's definitely willing to run hard. He's just not quite as quick between the wickets as Andy McBride. So, just having a look at that replay, I don't think it did hold in the pitch. I think he just pushed at it, didn't allow it to come to him to clip it leg side. So Munster Reds searching for their second win. They're in a good position here. Nicely flighted. And this is about the time that as a bowling unit you say, right, a few quiet overs, let's put them under pressure. Let the dot balls do the work. Because if you face a lot of dot balls as a batting unit, you tend to do something silly.
Yeah, we're just going to say a good time. Every time's a good time for a wicket, but this one in really particular now, because spinner on, two spinners on now. You would think they can sort of try and bowl stump to stump and just restrict Hume as he comes in early here. 3 dots to start. Final ball of the over. Moves leg.
Oh, it's
almost goes.
2 in the over. Could have been 3 for me. A great opening over from Nabby. 1 for 1. He just seems to have read the pace of this pitch immaculately. 53 for 3 after 8 Northwest Warriors.
Yeah, great start. Now we've seen everybody, bar possibly Ben White, come on with their first over. Well, pretty well for the Reds. Right now to bowl his second, going for 14 from his first, but say good time for the Reds to have 2 spinners on, you would think. Try and build a little bit of pressure here. Dot balls, always key. Thrown up again. And just feel the weight now on Egan's shoulders, really. 3 major players of the week have all gone. Again, he's on the back foot.
Yeah, I think just on slow pitches, bowlers can bowl that bit fuller. So if your back foot player, it maybe doesn't suit.
Saw that over. Ben White bowled 14, came off it, and suddenly the run rate jumped. But the next 6 or 7 balls in with a wicket. 4 dots and 2 dots already in this over. All of a sudden, we're down to just over a run a ball.
Ben White will have been saying, thanks, Nabby. You've pulled things back nicely, so there's a bit of pressure for my next over. Slip is in. Hume just gets that off the outside edge. Work to do for Josh Manley. That just seems to keep on leaving him. Things are just not going the right way for Ben White. Not a bad delivery by any stretch, but an opening boundary very welcome for Hume.
Yeah, I think that tells you the outfield is still pretty quick, because he hasn't really put any force into that shot at all. Just ran off the sort of face edge of the bat, and it's raced away. Josh Manley had no chance, really.
A great angle from Graham Hume there. He's forced the slip out, but it shows you the pace that Ben White bowls at as compared to Robbie Miller, who we saw yesterday. He'll be bowling in the second innings, but a lot slower through the air. He took a few edges and they all stopped before they got to the boundary.
Yeah, that one just ran away very quickly. The over. Much tidier over from Ben White. A little bit unfortunate to go for that boundary. And the other 2 singles, so 6 from it. 59 for 3.
Yeah, clawing back his overs. Decent start for the Warriors, but Balbirnie went early. Ollie Riley coming back in and having an immediate impact, bowling the former Ireland T20 captain. Topping, who's been in good touch, looked good, but McNally managed to dislodge him, and soon after McBride gave his wicket away, cotton bowled by Nabby. So Egan and Hume out there in the middle, going about their work and trying to see, can they rebuild? Nabby continues.
John McNally with the fielding there. Very distinguishable. John McNally.
Yeah, distinctive. To be fair, a good few distinctive.
Which is good.
Fielders, yeah, helpful.
Yep.
There's another one. Philippe Leroux. Highest number of catches, you tell me. How far in front is he?
Well, he's not. He's actually joint, so I'm sort of stealing that stat a little bit. Him and Tim Tector, I think, has the same number. It's not a huge number now. I think it's 24, but can't ruin my stat.
It's 4 is quite a lot across that number of games.
Well, yeah, it is.
To be honest.
Nearly won a game.
Especially if nearly everyone's, for Leinster Lightning, nearly everyone's getting out LBW.
Yeah. That's true.
Not Leinster Lightning batting, they're bowling.
They're bowling.
Well bowled. Hume just caught in two minds there. You can see a few different options coming into his thought process. That was what he wanted to do. The previous delivery probably would have been an easier shot. Gets off strike. And as a bowler, but a spinner in particular, you love to see that when you get a dot because someone thought about doing something, and then you know what they're going to do because they go, right, I'm going to commit this time. Yeah. You can change your speed or your length. This is exactly what we saw from Nabby there. Egan on the favoured back foot, looking to find the gap. Another excellent over from Nabby. Just the 3 singles in it. After 10, Northwest Warriors 62 for 3.
Yeah, the other good thing from Nabby there, we could probably have put a bit of a stopwatch on that over. You rattle through it really quickly. Hardly finished discussing Ben White's over, and Nabby rattles through his 6 balls just for 3.
Seamer's nightmare, bowling in tandem with Bakhtir Nabby or Andy McBride.
Definitely.
You can only bowl 1 or 2 in tandem with them. You need a couple of seamers operating at the other end. Lee McCarthy will replace Ben White. Extra bit of pace in the ball. Northwest Warriors will have to tell themselves this is a good bowling change for them. Use that pace.
Yeah, just bowled a 1. You may just have 1 here depending on how the over goes.
Balls of 2, yeah, lots of work to do in the deep for Manny. It should be an easy second. Very good in that area, Graham Hume. Probably one of the best at placing the ball in third. And he plays one-day cricket and he comes in down the order. You can set your watch by his guide to third.
Yeah, and there are plenty of spaces. We've referenced it here. Plenty of gaps to pick up your 2s. In the air. Oh, it's a day and a half for Ollie Riley.
Catch.
Well,
that is.
This is fantastic from the young paceman. See that fast bowlers just there to bowl, but excellent piece of athleticism there to move to his left and then have the presence of mind just to calm as he took the catch. A nice little roll to finish to make sure he kept it in his hands. That's got rid of Hume. Ollie Riley takes the catch off Liam McCarthy. Hume goes for 9.
Well, he needed every single inch of that immense wingspan here, Ollie Riley. In at the pads, just didn't hit it cleanly. Have a look. And then it's to be able to roll like that as well after you've taken the catch. That's all about footwork, because you have to get yourself in the right position to roll. If you don't do that, very difficult to hold on to the ball. Liam McCarthy, very thankful that it was Ollie Riley in that position, because I don't think there's one other person in the competition that would have been tall enough to get there. Brilliant stuff from the paceman, backing up his fellow paceman. He looked like he was going about his business very well, but he goes, and it's 64 for 4.
Yeah, that might be a drink in the bar later for Ollie Riley if he's old enough. I think he is now, just about. But yeah, Liam McCarthy will be well happy with that. Just chipped into the leg side, and he might have thought it was one of those days again where it was going to go into a gap. But yeah, you're right. That huge wingspan, really quick feet. And now a new man for the Northwest Warriors. We've talked about the guy on tournament debut for the Reds, Ollie Riley. He's been in the game, and this is now Isaac Bird, who's come into the Warriors for David O'Sullivan today.
Yeah, looks nervous, which is no surprise. He's had to watch a lot of cricket from the sideline. A little bit of a hack there. He, after his first delivery, had to walk off to the side and have a little chat, and then he was ready very, very early for Liam McCarthy's next delivery. So just needs to maybe relax the heart rate a little bit.
Yeah, Ken, what we're talking about earlier. He coming in for his first game in the provincial. Liam McCarthy running in. That was a little bit more confident. Well, maybe one out to Ben White. Yeah, plays his cricket at the Ballyspallin Club up in the northwest. Championship team, but a very, very good championship team in the northwest. He's had a really good season. Played a little bit for the emerging Warriors earlier in the season, but now he gets his debut on the senior side. Well played there from Megan. I thought he was going to a little bit more expansive, but he pulled out and just decided to knock that down the ground. So another good over for the Reds. Wicket in it. No boundary, 66 for 4. They dragged that run rate down to exactly a run a ball now, and they've picked up 4 wickets.
Yeah, good over from Liam McCarthy. Probably the best that we've seen him bowl in this tournament so far. The Interprovincial T20 trophy. And Stephen Doheney, suddenly he's got plenty of options for bowling. Is anyone else going to get a go? Are we going to stick with the same? Ollie Riley's got a couple up his sleeve. Nabby's bowling well. And calls of 2, but it'll just be 1. And Nabby just 1 for 4 and 2, so he'll be getting his 4 overs, you'd imagine.
You would think so. We talked about that little spell after the power play. Ben White's over went for plenty, but since then it was the working period you talked about, but it's actually been the Reds who have grasped that little period so far.
Leg side man in the deep settles himself, and Ben White takes an easy catch, so comes in to the tournament. Isaac Bird looks to lift it over and actually just chips it really. Maybe if he tried to muscle it a little bit more, it would have had the legs, but not to be for Isaac Bird in his first game in the tournament so far. And the wickets keep tumbling for Northwest Warriors, an all too familiar sight. He goes for 1 from 4. Northwest Warriors in a perilous state, 67 for 5.
A little bit betwixt and between there for Isaac Bird. Yeah, he could either have got to the pitch okay and could have just knocked it in to a gap, or as you say, gone for a bit of muscle, and he's not that far away, and he really just chipped that. So he'd have really gone through with a shot. He may have picked up the 6, but did neither one thing nor the other really, and all he did do was pick out Ben White, who took a very, very comfortable catch. So another wicket goes, and the only slight benefit is for the Warriors. We talked about it yesterday, a slightly longer batting lineup today, because the guy coming in now, Scott Macbeth, his qualities, he's had a pretty lean tournament so far, but no doubt his ability. He's coming in at 7, but still plenty of overs to go for him.
has struggled a little bit against spin, Scott Macbeth. So you won't be too pleased to see a spinner on when he makes his way out, but a confident shot to start off, and he'll get a 2.
Yeah,
It tends to be left arm spin though that he's struggled against more, isn't it?
quite a lot of bold dismissals so far. Really needs to step up for his team here.
Solid. He's aware that the ball has got through his defences, or well, he probably wasn't defending the ones that he was bowled before, but needs to bat for the remainder of this innings. That's got to be in his mind. It is the kind of pitch that 120, 130 could be enough.
You're still in
have
it.
to bowl
Yeah,
well.
I think you're still in it. You can see 120s, 130s. I mean, if you got 120 last week, we were packing the bags really. But yeah, today it's not a big score, but I saw yesterday that you can try to defend the lower total right there. But Nobby's continuing his spell here. Excellent. Sometimes you don't get the sort of 3 overs in a row, but Nobby's managed to do that by the fact that he's taking wickets and he's getting lots of dot balls. So he's done really well for his skipper, and it is just going to be 1 over for McCarthy to leave him with probably 2 for the back end. And back to Ollie Riley, and his figures there on the right: 2 overs, 1 for 6. You mentioned about Scott Macbeth and spin, and you're right so far, but given what we've seen from Riley, can he still get that ball shaping about? Good start.
He's a real hit the pitch bowler, so there's always an opportunity that he'll seam it around. I was talking about Stephen Downey having to decide who gets their overs today, because John McNally's only bowled 1. Ben White's got 2 in the locker. Nabby has another one. You'd imagine he'll finish out. And 2 each for Manley and McCarthy. Ollie Riley has 1 after this one. Only 8 overs to bowl, so who does he turn to? And in the last few games, it feels like if someone's gone the distance, they still have to bowl their full quota. But today, if someone goes, that's it, they can finish for the day.
Yeah, it's just giving him that little flexibility, and certainly in T20 cricket in particular, you kind of do need that, because sometimes, I mean, Ben White today hasn't bowled poorly. He's gone for a lot of runs just naturally. It's just gone sort of edges and stuff, and not particularly Ben White. But if somebody does have a bit of a tough day, you can't change it up then.
Top edge, that'll go. It was a steep bouncer. Scott Macbeth took it on. It goes where you never have any fielders, not at the top level anyway. His opening boundary.
Yep. Short ball from, climbed on Scott Macbeth. I mean, that's the worst ball ever seen. Right up there, and another day you could see him getting more bat on that and picking out Manley. Actually looking at Manley now, he gives a bit of a clap there to his bowler.
Yeah, Ben White, I think it's been a case of he's bowled a couple of poor deliveries. They've gone for 4, and then a little bit of bad luck, and that's all it takes as a bowler really. A few edges for 4 and a few poor deliveries, and all of a sudden you're not for 20 from 2. Definitely not the worst figures that we've seen by any stretch. Good batting from Macbeth, gets the 4, then rotates the strike. And this is the blueprint for the next few overs. Try and get 1 boundary and then rotate the strike. See if you can get a couple of 2s in there as well, and that's probably the easiest way to go at 9s and 10s.
Yep, I think so. Just certainly when you first come in, it's just the last couple of days, and even today it's been evident that it's very difficult to come in and try and hit the boundary straight up unless the bowling's particularly poor. That's Jake Higgins' shot right there. Yeah, beat Ben White. Again, everything on the back foot really for Egan. He's going backward of that point area. A little bit of width. Just punches that to the offside, and really when he got close, no real chance for Ben White.
He actually set off a little bit late there, Ben White. I've got full view of him. For him, he's normally on his way before the ball's hit. Chance has to hit. He was gone for all money there, Scott Macbeth. Swapnil Mogul, I think it is there in point. Still has his hands on his head. He could have taken longer. Scott Macbeth had given up. So golden opportunity gone there. Macbeth survives on 9.
That was such a poor run that you almost think that could almost have ran into the stumps there. It was such a poor run. He couldn't, obviously. He had to have a shy. But yeah, Scott Macbeth wouldn't have made the frame there, I don't think. No surprise that, well, this is a little bit of surprise. We don't often see a bowler in the middle overs bowling 4 straight through, but now he's going to do that. There, your card. You've mentioned it, Izzy. Suddenly they've got lots of options here. A dot. You know, we're talking about, it'll be 5-4s here. This is what it's going to be for the Reds, and suddenly now they're thinking about who's not going to bowl. Especially the fact that Nabi's going to go through 4.
Oh, that's his shot. He'll be disappointed. Actually tried to give himself a little bit too much room there, Jake Egan. What a spell of bowling it's been. They'll look to try and come back for 2. The race is on in the deep. Good running from Egan. 2 for 10 though, just 3 deliveries remaining in the spell. It's been brilliant from Nabi, going up and down the gears. There's been turn.
Yeah, it's always interesting when you're the last bowler. He's been the last change. And he gets his 4 and he's going to go for, well, teens probably here. He was the last bowler on the card. Dot for him.
Nicely flighted, a bit fuller there. He's forcing Egan onto the front foot. I think he's recognised that the right-hander really wants to go up on the back foot and into the pads. I don't think there's any need to appeal there. 2 for 10 from his 4 overs from Bakhtir Nabi, and he's put his team in the box seat. After 14, Northwest Warriors work to do. 84 for 5.
Yeah, well, I sort of prophesied he might go for teens, but Nabi's just gone for 10. 3 dot balls to finish there. What a spell from him. 2 for 10. Ben White's going to come back here, and as I said, options now for Stephen Doheny. Bowl White here. McNally's only gone for 9 from his 1 that he's bowled, so he's got 3 to come. McCarthy's still 2, and his opening bowler also. Josh Manley's got 2. Only 6 overs left, so it's a real luxury for Doheny today. A little bit more thinking to do for him.
I think this is a big matchup here for Ben White and Egan. Can White force Egan to come forward? Needs to be good on his length. Can't give him any width outside off. That's where Egan wants width, and a little bit shorter will go. Well, it was a bit shorter, but straight enough that Egan can't hit it through the offside. They will get a couple.
Yeah, if you get it into that little pocket there between the 2 boundary fielders, can get 2, and it might be where Egan's looking. He doesn't want to premeditate playing leg side.
Premeditated by moving to the offside and looking to sweep over Suleiman Safi in 45.
Yeah, not a big conventional sweeper. He will play the sort of slog sweep, but doesn't play a great deal of sort of square sweeps. You just feel that Scott Macbeth just lacking the confidence of a player who's in nick. You know, he just does seem to be searching a little bit.
Yeah, one boundary, that was the top edge. So 10 from 9, not the worst strike rate, but just looks like he's searching for a plan that will work rather than feeling like he's got one nailed on. Oh, bowled Ben White. Egan gave himself some room. White threw it up at the wide line and gets out of the over. 2 dots to finish there. A good comeback from White. He's clawing back his figures, going at 8s now after a poor first over. And with 5 to go, Northwest Warriors 89 for 5.
Yeah, lovely scene here at the Ward Stormont, just outside city centre of Belfast. A little bit of sunshine today. First this week. It's been pretty overcast. 3 days we've managed to get all 3 games in, just 4 games in rather, just with the truncated game for the Knights on Tuesday. So I'm going to see if Safi is going to pick up the mantle. He decided that spin's the way to go here.
Yeah, the part-timer's getting a go. John McNally just the one over. He did get through the defences of Sam Topping, but maybe they feel today's not his day. I don't know if it's to do with the pitch or the 2 batters out in the middle, but I haven't seen Suleiman Safi so far this week. Today's the first time he's bowling. Is there a chance in the deep? No, that's going to go all the way. Great contact. We said you have to bring him forward, and he said, okay, I'm going to have to take them on the front foot for a 6 of the day.
Yeah, well, that's what we've talked about. He sat back pretty much in this entire innings, but shows he can do it when he comes forward. That's cleared the ropes by good distance. Now he goes on the back foot, but he's going to pick out the fielder. And that's a bit of a disaster for the Warriors. Egan just about to go here with 5 overs to go, and he gets the 6th the ball before, but big spaces out there. He really has hit that right down the throat of the one fielder. Didn't have to move. Decent knock from Egan, but I think the Warriors needed him to kick on. He goes for 40.
I think it's a case of attacking a bowler. He felt like Suleiman Safi was the one he wanted to take down. Very difficult to hit that overlong off on the back foot. It's pretty big boundaries here. Maybe in Cork it would have been okay, but not here. The good thing is that he managed to form a partnership for a while there with Scott Macbeth. They've taken it from the 11th over into the 16th, and so you feel a little bit more comfortable as a Northwest Warriors supporter about the hitters coming in now. Maybe 1 or 2 of them come off. It's about the amount of time they'd like to have. So can they go out and execute now?
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday. I think Gerard Wilson was in the 11th or 12th over yesterday at 8 overs to go, and kind of went at it from there.
Good from Safi.
Oh, thought they were going to go there.
A bit of luck for Safi because he palmed it on to Scott Macbeth. That he kind of did the extra bit of fielding.
Bit of a drag down. Gets away with it just for 1. And despite the 6 in the over, I think the Reds will probably take that because they've got rid of the really set batsman. Macbeth's on 11, but Egan was the man who you thought might sort of be in. He's got the pace of the pitch already. Could he launch? You can see there he's gone for 40, but if it's been a well-worn path for us talking about the Northwest Warriors, that middle order not being able to make a contribution that really counts. 2, 9 and 1 today for that. 4, 5 and 6.
No, but usually in a game you've got certain parts of your batting lineup that perform. Bottom order needs to come to the party. From Northwest Warriors, that one gets past Ben White. So Jared Wilson, he is the type of player that, 5 balls can all go to the boundary in quick succession. Cameron Melly as well, he'll be coming in soon. If one or both of them can come off. Macbeth going on the reverse, comes off. Nice option. Goes with the spin. His first boundary was a top edge. That one a bit more planned from Macbeth.
Yeah, definitely. You can see that idea in his head pretty much straight away, and got the ball for it, and that's rapidly the boundary to bring up the 100 for the Warriors.
Looking to back up that boundary with another. I think this will go all the way. Scott Macbeth. Suddenly the plan's coming off. The extra pace of Ben White seems to be suiting him in terms of spin anyway.
Yeah, well, that's the shot. I've watched him play it at Brigade off spin, both off and leg. Doesn't really mind. He likes to hit in that area.
Back-to-back 4s, and will he add another one? Yes, 3 in a row. Ben White's done this a couple of times where he's gone for 3 4s and 3 balls, and it just gets Northwest Warriors back into the contest.
And is this the day that he shows everybody once again what he can do? All of a sudden, seems to have the confidence back, and that shot tells me exactly what I'm talking about. Didn't see that in his first 9 or 10 balls. He's onto the back foot and really confidently cuts that, even though it only goes for 1. Much more confident shot.
Nothing too crazy here, please, Jared Wilson. Just stay with me, says Scott Macbeth. Well done. Into the leg side. Should just be 1 because Jared Wilson took a little tumble. They talk about getting in the flow, a flow state. 3 overs to go. Northwest Warriors 112 for 6. It felt like there was no rhythm to the innings for Scott Macbeth up until that over. All of a sudden, it's clicked in. His brain's working properly. He's working out what he thinks the bowler's going to bowl, thinking out his options. If you could find an easy way to get into flow state as a sports person, you'd make a lot of money as a sports psychologist.
I was just going to say, you'd be on the circuit, you'd be going around telling people this is what you do. Really interesting to see here that Southie's going to get another. It's going to be the 18th, so 3 overs left. Stephen Doheney's obviously decided that pace off here, certainly at this end. Pushing 2. Yeah, Scott Macbeth comes back.
I never understand throwing to the far end there.
I was just going to say,
it's never going to.
I think Safi was exactly the same.
Yeah. Near end, unless someone doesn't go straight away, if they pause in the turn. Oh, chance. Gone. That was a silly run, not needed from Scott Macbeth, just as he was getting into form. Some silly running, good pickup, good release. And Cian Hilton does the rest. Wasn't really in the frame there, Scott Macbeth. Just as he felt like they were getting going. I don't know if it's Jared Wilson that called him through, but there's always a run to third, not necessarily to point, Danny.
Yeah, I mean, there's one thing you really didn't want to do right now. Was hit the ball to point to Stephen Doheney and then take off. You know, it just about got that wheel moving. Macbeth had hit 3 4s, and then he's not even on strike. He manages to find a way to get out. There it is, and he's not even close. Good couple of yards short, and almost had give up. It's kind of the only thing that could have saved him there was if Hilton didn't take the ball cleanly.
I like that angle that we showed there, because if you look at Scott Macbeth, he wasn't running before the ball was hit. If you'd known definitely we're going to run, if you'd seen the shape of the shot, which was clearly going to go on the offside, and he just set off, That's the only time that you feel that they could have got home, and it couldn't have been easier for Stephen Doherty. It took a couple of bounces, just bounced up into his hands. Nice little throw. They're the dream ones. Cameron Melly in with Jared Wilson. Just punches it leg side. Nicely weighted shot. Very athletic from Suleiman Safi there, but I think if he'd been bowling around the wicket, he maybe might have got there. Very difficult when you're bowling over to get into mid-wicket. I think he's enjoying his opportunity with ball back in hand though.
Yeah, I'm almost quiet here, 'cause I still can't believe that last wicket. He's just got going, Macbeth, and just feeling his way into an innings. Being tough, and then a little bit of a 23-yarder there from Safi. Melly gets on it, sweeps it to the boundary, just ruins the over a little bit. And the Warriors get up to 120 now, 2 overs to go.
And nicely picked up that the long ball from Suleiman Safi was behind the back line there when he released that. Nicely picked up from Cameron Melly. It's set up beautifully for these two to have a dash at the end and give their team a decent score to defend. 20 or so from these last couple of overs would be just the ticket.
Yeah, they're definitely capable, and if you were to sort of pigeonhole them a wee bit, this would be the role you would give them. 2 overs to go. Wilson and Melly clear the boundary, but we've seen it's not been easy. And McNally comes back. Ball number 19.
Starts with a long, full toss. So the first of those 4s that these two will be looking for comes in the first delivery of this penultimate over.
Yeah, bonus for Jared Wilson there. That's almost a hit me ball. Only a full toss. And the good thing is he gets the placement right. Gets it in front. No danger of that not going to the boundary. So 4 off the first ball. That's a good start towards those 20 plus that they need.
Much better execution. Another chance for a run out. No, Modgill fumbles. I reckon that's how Scott Macbeth needed to be at the non-striker's end, taking off before the ball's even hit.
Yeah, well, even if it's like a little bit of a conversation between the two, maybe just pop down and say, look, we're actually going to do this now. If we're going to go and really go with the fielder.
Well, I think the call has to come from the non-striker.
Yeah.
You can't be the striker calling yes, because you're not going to the danger end. So that call clearly came from Cameron Melly. Good comeback from John McNally. Don't throw it. After the first ball going for 4, you're always clawing the over back. He's done just that, these couple of deliveries. And just a little signal between the two batters saying it's been slower deliveries by and large. Follows him there. Took a long time for Josh Manley to pick up where that was coming. He didn't get in off the boundary. Does well to smother that.
Yeah, I think he's done fantastic there actually to keep that down to 1. As you say, it was on the half volley to him. A little chat between the two. They probably should have got back for 2s. He had a lot of work to do. The ball didn't go cleanly into his hands because he was trying to smother it, prevent it going for 4. Keeps it to 1.
Well done by Cian Hilton. Those ones are very uncomfortable for a keeper. Just going too far down the leg side. I think the chat might have been, he's angling it in at the body. Maybe stand still. Make him bowl more at the stumps, right side off.
Yeah, he's definitely straightened his line after that first delivery. Wide full toss.
And into the stumps, bowls outside off, the pace on delivery. Melly looks to play it through the offside. Another played on. Cannons off the bottom of the bat into the stumps, and after going for 4 on the first ball, comes back well, John McNally. A wicket in each of his overs so far today. One of the hitters goes, Northwest Warriors 128 for 8. Melly goes for 7 from 6.
Yeah, just the one boundary. Cameron Melly, that sweep shot in the previous over. That ball was outside the off stump, but again, the bottom edge. It's the stumps, and he can't get going. Just the 7. There's Robbie Miller out at number 10.
Four from 1 yesterday.
Something similar today off this delivery. Last ball of the over. Nope.
Oh, that's really risen on him. Pretty good over, you'd have to say, from John McNally. He won't have been pleased to go for 4 off the first, but after that he's worked out what he needs to do. Took the wicket and went for, I think it's 8. I think he would have taken that if you'd offered it to him before the over was bowled. So 1 over to go for the Northwest Warriors, 128 for 8. Big over here would, give them definitely a 50-50 chance. It's Ollie Riley's final over. Jared Wilson will be confident that he can send the ball over the ropes a couple of times. Haven't seen too many change-ups from Ollie Riley. That'll be interesting to see if he's got pace-off deliveries he might pull out of the bag at this stage in the game.
Oh yeah, an interesting call from Dohney. Obviously he's got a couple of overs from his opening bowlers. Decided to go with Riley.
There's the slower ball. Doesn't make its way to the catcher in extra cover. So first ball goes for a boundary. Slower delivery doesn't pay dividends. Floated full, and Jared Wilson helps himself.
Yeah, bowling into a reasonably stiff breeze here as well. Did just floated that one up a little bit. And the only thing Wilson had to really do was wait on it. He was able to get enough back through the cover region. So starts with a boundary as well. Can Riley get out of the over in the same way as McNally did in the 19th. 132 for 8 now.
Up in the block hole, but manages to dig it out. He'll get 1. Can he get back for the second? Michael
Surely
has to
not.
hit.
Oh.
Doesn't. Well, that's where someone on the offside has to decide they're coming into the stumps, because the bowler isn't going to get back there. So I think Philippe Leroux, yes, you're miles away, but maybe you can sprint and get to the stumps. Didn't miss by much.
Yeah, we're looking right down at it here, and didn't miss by much, but Robbie Miller was a long way short.
Full and wide, the field has changed. Extra cover out in the boundary, cover, well, kind of a cover point on the 1, and then a deep backward point. Third and fine in the ring, backward square. Deep, straight mid-wicket and long on, so he has to be full. Ollie Riley, it's also set for slower deliveries as well. He's going to change that field now. Point comes up for Robbie Miller. More regulation field as cover moves around and square goes out.
And what's the conversation right here between Wilson and Miller?
Yeah.
One of two things. Go for your life, or let's take one and I'll take the last 2. And he ends up neither. Doesn't get bat on it. So it's a dot ball. Good result for the Reds.
Well, I think it, just judging by that shot, I think it was the take 1 and I'll take the last 2. But does it change now that there's only 2 deliveries left? Nicely in at the body of Robbie Miller. So it will be Wilson for the final delivery of the innings. 136 for 8. It's been a good fight back from the Northwest Warriors. Just one quick innings can make such a big difference. That Scott Macbeth, 24 from 14, gives it a different look. Wilson, 18 from 12 as well. It's been useful between them. They've put on 40 odd.
Yeah, if he can maybe muscle this one to the boundary, get them up to that 140 and himself up to 22. Comes down the ground. Don't think it's going to go for 4 as Modgill comes round. We're going to get 2. So in between, really. And the Northwest Warriors finish on 138 for 8. Jared Wilson, a nice little finish to the innings, similar to what he's been doing, 20 off 13. But I think the Reds will be pretty happy with that. Pitch looks a little bit difficult. I think 138, they'll be reasonably happy at the halfway point.
Yeah, I think that Munster Reds will be pretty pleased. There were a few opportunities that went by the wayside. Scott Macbeth, the run out when he was on 7, there was an opportunity there that went by the wayside. Robbie Miller as well at the end there, it could have been run out, but neither missed opportunity too costly. Ollie Roddy's come in and been very impressive.
Here's your Warriors card. Again, we've seen this fairly regularly, a few scores. Today it was Jake Egan, top scored with 40. Topping got off to a decent start, but he was picked up by Manley for 24. In those middle order woes again. McBride for 2, Hume for 9, and then Isaac Bird on debut for 1. And then Scott Macbeth had just got going when that suicidal run there. He went for 24, and Jared Wilson, a nice little cameo at the end for 20 from 13.
Lots of little partnerships. No one big one in the Northwest Warriors camp, but they'll be happy with 3 there. 22 between Topping and Egan. Egan then with McBride, and 29 between Egan and Macbeth, the top one. And the tail did wag, as you can see from those bottom 3 partnerships. 18, 14 and 10, very useful.
A very different look today for the Reds bowling lineup. We usually just see 5, 7 today. Lots of options used by Doheny. Interesting to see that Liam McCarthy and Josh Manley only bowled 2 overs each. They only picked up 2 wickets for just 17. Lots of spin. Nabby particularly good. 4 overs, 2 for 10. And a little look at Ollie Riley. Bowled up top. 4 overs, none, and 1 for 28. So just lots of options today for the Reds bowling lineup. So that's halfway through this opening game of day 3 of this festival in Belfast. The Reds, well, they'll be out in around 10 minutes to chase 139. Join us then.
Welcome back to the second half of this first match in the final day of the Stormont Festival in the Interprovincial T20 Trophy. Northwest Warriors were inserted after the toss. Stephen Doheny said we'll have a bowl first. It was a good contest actually, because both teams on top for periods in the first half, but probably Munster Reds will be the team that were happier at the halfway point. They managed to keep the Northwest Warriors to 138 for 8, and with 3 of the top scoring players in the competition so far in their lineup, they'll be hopeful they can chase it down 139 for victory. But nothing's been straightforward in this competition so far. I'm Isabel Joyce and delighted to have Ali McCalmont alongside to call this one.
I've got to call it then, is he? Yeah, I think the Reds will be pretty happy with that. As you've mentioned, they've got 3 really good performers. That's been their problem. They haven't had the backup, and you know, maybe today the likes of a Swanton Modgill, who's been out there from the start, he'll be facing the first ball. Maybe he can get a few. Safi, somebody to back it up. But it's Graham Hume start for the Warriors. I think that's off the pad, so it'll get the team underway. But not Safi, he stays, or sorry, Modgill, he stays on 0, and they'll bring the man at the top of those charts you're talking about, really courtesy of that 150 last Wednesday, Stephen Doheny. Second ball duck yesterday. He knows his bowlers have done the job in the first part. Up to him and his batters to finish the game off.
Yeah, got a good delivery yesterday, didn't he? Stephen Doheny. You talk about people getting you out and getting yourself out. I think that was a case of, I mean, will he look back and think he could have done better? I'm sure he will. Got out by his club teammate Melvin Deverage, but sometimes things don't go your way, and he'll be hoping things do go his way today. Directed down leg side, topping just about gets enough on it to keep it to 1, but it'll be 2 to the total. Not his customary away swing on show here. Graham Hume just searching for it, and it's not happening so far for him.
I want to get into his rhythm. We talk about batters have a sort of rhythm, but certainly Graham Hume is a rhythm bowler. You'll often see there's coming down the wicket. Try and get him off that line and length. I often watch him in club cricket, and obviously the level of player don't have the confidence to come down to an international bowler, and he just metronomes like and just bowls. Same ball. So if he bowls 3 or 4 overs at the start, you can see 20 of them being in exactly the same spot because nobody gets him off that length.
That's why this competition is so important, is for the bowlers to be exposed to batters on a regular basis that are going to take them on. And he's taken on straight away, Graham Hume. Stephen Doheny does exactly what you said, Ali. Come down the pitch and straight as an arrow over the top. Trusts his hands, trusts the direction. Opening boundary for the Munster Reds.
Yeah, almost as if we'd sort of asked him to do that there. Stephen Doheny does exactly that. Changes the length by getting to the pitch, hits straight down the ground, and it's a really good point you make about that's what this is about, trying to expose players to a higher level of play and having to adapt.
It's something that's coming into the women's game as well. But certainly when I was playing, if you were someone outside the top 6 bowlers coming into the international setup, very difficult. You come up against the top international sides. You're not used in club cricket to batters that will take you on from the get-go.
And you don't want to be surprised by anything when you come into that level. You don't want to be surprised, you want to be ready for it. And that's again what we're talking about. I've referenced that interview at the end of yesterday's game by Harry Tector. He spoke about that as well, that at international level, especially the ground last week, it was nearly too small, you know, the international players.
Yeah, well, one of the things about being about cricket, as Stephen Doherty does well, runs the first one hard, come back for the second off that misfield in the deep. So the first over, good one for Munster Reds, 10 off it. But one of the things about the best players is they've done it before. They've always done it before, whatever they're asked to do out in the middle. In some games, somewhere, they've been in a situation and had to find their way out. So for younger players, sometimes it's, they take a Scott Macbeth, for example. He's found himself out of touch and he's had to find a way today, albeit he only made 24 from 14, but he's had to figure it out in the middle. And if he finds himself in a situation again where he's out of touch, he can draw on the experience from today and maybe not get himself run out as well, which would be helpful. Well, David O'Sullivan out of the team today, so they're one seamer light, Northwest Warriors. It means Wilson's elevated to bowling the second over, and you feel like Munster Reds, we say it quite a lot, they're going to take on Wilson here early. Only 2 fielders out. Modgill, an assured looking shot, can't beat the fielder. And I think, I don't know, maybe they were listening to us, but cover out on the boundary. First time we've seen that from an opening bowler. A little bit less pace from Jared Wilson, but cover out rather than point, and mid wicket rather than square.
Yeah, definitely more in front for Wilson.
Down the pitch and the length not there to go over the top. Modgill manages to get it into the leg side. Stephen Doherty does not want to run his opening partner out again. So respect being shown there to the man at mid-on. The man who's just come in, Isaac Bird.
Yep.
Decent start from Wilson though, dot and a 1.
Yeah, but you've seen in the 2 shots that they're definitely targeting both. Momentum coming forward from the batters. It's on the back foot, slightly miscued.
Modgill will take Bird on, has to hit. Think he's home. Oh, just about. He took a second to decide to take off, and that almost cost him Swapnil Modgill. Good throw from Isaac Bird, nice slide and quick release. I'm interested by this shot though from Doherty. Got it high on the bat, a little bit of extra bounce. Have a look here, a little pause
there,
and that was the goose step that almost cost him his wicket. Now he's home pretty easily.
Yeah, didn't really run the first one that hard, and you're right, on the way back there it was just that moment. He put the big yards in, and for a moment I thought, you know, his heart would have been in his mouth just, but you're right again, he was comfortably in the end.
I think maybe he was waiting to hear that the catch had been taken. As the non-striker, he really didn't get much of that, Stephen Doherty. He was waiting for the cheer from Northwest Warriors. Flirting with the wide line just outside. A little bit of a hack, but I just wonder, Swapnil Modgill just seems quite relaxed this morning. He hasn't been in touch. Maybe he's thinking, okay, just do it in 1s and 2s. I know that was a bit of a hack, but it by and large seems comfortable. Thinks right, chasing 130 yards. I can work the ball around. Nothing too much to fear in this bowling attack for him.
Yeah, he should be. Talked about confident with the guy at the other end. He's batted with him numerous times. Club, and over these past 2 weeks. Wilson gets out of that one. 7 from the over. 16 without loss. We talked yesterday about not having Ryan Macbeth available for the Warriors, and now Sullivan with that little injury from yesterday. A little bit of work to do for the skipper. Hume with his second.
Now that shot there, that's what I'm talking about. The intent from Swapping and Moggill, not there to kind of launch it. Just bunts it into the leg side, gets off strike.
Yeah, but no scoreboard pressure here. It's just 139 to chase. Just going at less than 7 to start with. Got a power play here. So maybe he can just work himself into an innings and then accelerate if he needs to, but maybe won't have to. You know, maybe they can get this power play.
Yeah, it's by no means a criticism. I'm actually glad to see that he's doing it, because it's not necessary to go guns blazing. Stephen Doheney's likely to do that, as he does there. Nicely executed boundary. Little shimmy to the leg side, then opens up and uses the pace of Hume, who's got the fielders in fine and third. Up in the ring. Useful boundary off the strike bowler for Northwest Warriors.
Yeah, there's that little telltale. He's heard. Going through one of those master classes A.B. de Villiers used to say. Joss Butler does it as well. The back foot kicks away to the leg side and then comes back, and they get themselves in the position to play that little ramp over the leg side.
What was the explanation for why that little kick has to happen?
I think it was, see that delivery, I think it was partly to push off them back across, so they kick back and then they kick it back across to the offside to get their head coming at the other side of the ball, and puts them offside of the ball. It does seem to be a thing that a lot of players tend to do when they're playing that ramp, when it is just to get themselves their head on the other side. But nice piece of technique there.
I think it might be a thing they do because those two players do it, not because
well, maybe
not because there's actually any technical use to it.
It looks good.
Well, it used to be, that flies off the outside edge. I think it'll just be one. I think it used to be that they would sometimes shimmy to the leg side, and then the back foot to the leg side makes the bowler think, okay, they're going leg side, I'll bowl outside off, and then they'd come across. And then it became a habit. But it's certainly not necessary. Like, you don't have to do it to be able to play the shot. You won't see Morgan Topping doing it. He's he just makes it, I think it's a little bit more simple to not have that extra added step. So if you don't already do it, maybe don't add it into your routine. And I think this is a case of, Stephen Doheney very good at deciding, right, I'm going to try and get a boundary early in the over, and then it's just going to be get up and down. Went for the risky shot, slightly risky, early on in the over, and then earns the right to just run up and down. Graham Hume always chasing the over. No slip in now.
I think what we've seen in opening 3 overs is exactly that. If we can get a boundary, I'm quite happy to play risk-free.
Risk there from Modgill, not needed. Looked to heave it over the straight boundaries, doesn't get much of it, and the wicket falls. Modgill once again goes early. I talk about risk-free cricket. There's unnecessary from Modgill as Munster Reds lose their first. Modgill goes for 5 from 8, and after making it look also all too easy as an opening pair, they're separated.
Yeah, just talking about risk-free cricket. We talked about Graham Hume as well, just bowling that length. Bit of a swipe at that, really. I do think it was a little bit unnecessary. You've got the boundary in the over. You're going at 8s, which is more than enough. Maybe just keep it ticking over for another couple and just make sure that the Northwest Warriors don't get any inkling into this game You'll be looking at the power play. If they finish with no wickets in the power play, immediately the Warriors are going to be feeling they're behind the 8 ball. That's just giving them a little glimmer. And if they can back it up, then 2-3 wickets in the power play, they'll be back in it. So for me, they were going about it the right way. That was a little bit unnecessary from Modgill.
3 overs gone, 24 for 1. They're 1 over ahead of Northwest Warriors, who were 24 for 1 after 4. Cian Hilton, fresh off 35 yesterday, comes out and joins as captain at number 3.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he plays, because yesterday he was a little bit more aggressive yesterday. We're chasing a lot more. 177 yesterday, so he did need to be a little bit more aggressive, but he does like to run hard between the wickets. So that one, Jared Wilson. So yeah, will they go back to that sort of method of running ones hard, trying to pick up 2s? Into his second. It's Woods again. He gets onto it this time and picks out Cameron Milley.
I wonder, it was this outside the wide line if Stephen Downey let it go. It was 2 wide deliveries in a row. Saw that being a little bit fruitful yesterday. Was it Tim Tector got caught an extra cover, shortish wide one off, and slightly slower delivery. Yeah, Ross Adair as well. I think it was Sam Topping who had the wherewithal to make sure it went over the fielder close. Oh, that's a good piece of fielding. Scott Macbeth. That's gone like a tracer bullet at backward point. A couple of yards either side and Hilton would have been off the mark.
How does Cian Hilton feel right now? He's faced his first ball there and he's absolutely middled that. And he would have been thinking, oh, tremendous, I'm off the mark with a boundary, and he doesn't get a run for it. Tremendous piece of fielding.
Glass half full or glass half empty?
Yeah.
Because if you're glass half full, you think I've got good contact, quick, and survives. Just about gets home. Cian Hilton had to be quick. That's twice in a row that Isaac Bird's hit the stumps. Twice in a row he's been denied.
I was just going to say that Isaac Bird didn't have a great time with the ball, but maybe get him on with get the bowling in his hand, because he's hit the stumps twice already in the field. Excellent piece of fielding again. Gets it away quickly, but again, good stretch there from Hilton to make sure the bat got over the line.
Oh, a little misfield. Oh, 2 fielders meet with the slide.
I think Josh Wilson was trying to make up for that. Just that a little bit harder than normal. Try and pull it in. Little things you've got to make sure for the Warriors. Extra 2 runs there. Probably 3 actually, because
shouldn't have been 1. Yeah,
probably wouldn't have been 1.
Yeah, back to the glass half full, half empty. If you've hit it that hard and it doesn't go for any runs, at least you made the good contact. If you're half empty, you're thinking I should have had 4. Oh, a little bit of movement away. Yeah, it's just crept outside the wide line. Slip back in for Hilton. It's been a really good comeback this week with the ball in hand for Jared Wilson, who was expensive last week for Northwest Warriors. Andy McBride's stuck with him. Just a little bit straighter, cramping Hilton, who I think was hoping it would go through the offside, a little bit wider. 30 for 1 after 4.
Good to see. Jared still has his tea towel in the back there. He still has his tea towel with him. He ripped that up, and his tea towel in his mitt here, just in front of us.
We'll have to get the backstory to the tea towel. Maybe it's just a very thin towel and not a tea towel at all.
I think it's a tea towel. I thought he was going to come down here to third man, and we might have a little chat with him, but he's in it short. So again, here's the option they're going with. Hume for a third in the power play.
David O'Sullivan going out means that they've got extra spinners, which isn't necessarily the worst thing. Today we've seen spin be successful. Ben White excluded. He was the most expensive bowler for Munster Reds by a long shot. Bit surprised he got the 4 overs, actually. Not for 39 from 4. Oh dear, is there another chance? Zimmerman on the field, and Stephen Doherty goes the same way as his opening partner did. Well judged by the subfielder. Looking to go straight. Graham Hume gets a little bit of away movement, takes the outside half of the bat, and danger man Doherty goes.
Yeah, you say very similar. A little bit better contact, Doherty, but it went too high. Actually a good catch from Zimmerman. He didn't know whether to turn and go backwards or just pedal backwards. He took the right option and got his feet planted before he took the catch. He's on as a sub. Doherty goes for 19. And just looking at that, Graham Hume, clearly the standout bowler for the Northwest Warriors. He's bowling his third. Could you just absorb him in the power play there? Do we really need to hit him out of the attack? Really, Josh Wilson would be the other seamer, and would have to come on and bowl. Is he a better option to maybe take down if you need to? So maybe second wicket there falling. Again, the word maybe for me is a little bit unnecessary.
I think as a T20 opening batter, your job is to try and make use of the power play. So that's probably what Stephen Doherty's thinking, but I understand your point. Definitely wasn't the delivery. I think that's the key point. The length wasn't there to go straight back over the head of the bowler. Maybe if he'd come down the pitch. We saw him do that earlier, and even when he didn't get all of it on that occasion, the fact that he'd come at Graham Hume meant he had the momentum. A man in form, Philippe Leroux, out at number 4. Big shout. And Johnny Kennedy doesn't like it. I wonder, was there a bit of bat?
That's what I thought. Too noise for me. But that's kind of where I'm going with that. You've now, I take your point. I'll just see this replay again. I can't really see from that. Hume was very keen. Yeah, it's not just the fact that you've lost Doherty now. You've now, for want of a better phrase, exposed Philip Leroux here in the power play. Could you have taken it a little bit deeper in terms of winning games?
Yep, totally agree. Only he'll know the mindset that he has, Stephen Doherty. I suppose for all these players, it's not necessarily just about winning games, although that's priority number 1. You're there to kind of show what you can do as an opening batter.
Well, that's right. In terms, you're right about what you're saying about an opening batter. His mindset is go out there and try and make the most of the power play. And we also talk about adaptability to win games, and he just sometimes just got to rein in that a little bit.
Really got over this from Hume. 5 dots, including the wicket of Stephen Doherty. He's only got a couple of seamers to call upon Andy McBride, so you'd imagine maybe he'll bowl the 6th. I think Andy McBride will come on and close out the power play. And then it'll be death by spin for Northwest Warriors.
I think he'll definitely do that now with, Hilton's only faced 3 balls, as is Leroux. So 2 new batters at the crease. I think you'll definitely see Andy McBride here, I would say, trying to close out the power play. 1 ball left in the 5th though, before that.
Change in the field, backward square and a fine leg on the boundary. Mid-on comes round as well. Shorter delivery against LaRue. So brilliant wicket made in the 5th over as Northwest Warriors right back in this. Getting ahead of the game in terms of wickets. And getting both openers out in the power play. One still remaining, of course. 1 over in the power play. And now it's a case of, do you keep on attacking? It's going to be Andy McBride, a canny operator, to say the very least, to close out the Northwest Warriors bowling power play.
Yeah, I couldn't see any other option really. Let's say 2 new batters at the crease. And 2 young batters at that. You got that canny operator indeed. He'll be bowling stump to stump here, bringing all modes into play here. And the likelihood is that you're not really going to see these 2 coming down the track at him really. Fair play to them if they do.
No.
But you're going to see stump to stump stuff here probably from McBride.
2 good sweepers of the ball. Don't imagine that McBride will offer too much to sweep though. 2 fielders in the deep mid-wicket and backward square. 5 on the leg side. So he'll probably bowl within the stumps for the most part. Cian Hilton just pushing at that. The familiar sight for Andy McBride. He was at the other end when he was with bat in hand, pushing one back to an off spinner.
Yeah, he'll definitely want to make up for that earlier.
Down the pitch and gone. A little shuffle. The arm ball works a treat. Andy McBride takes a 3rd in the power play, and Munster Reds a golden opportunity. Is it slipping through the fingers?
Well, we talked about would these 2 young players have the, first of all, bravado. We didn't mention the skill to come down the track. Andy McBride, wily operator, just gets that one past Hilton. He's sort of ran past it here, and really easy job for topping there. Let's see, he comes down but isn't set. That's a nice piece of bowling. A little punch of the air from McBride. He knows how important a wicket that was, and just to keep the foot right on the Reds here. 30 for 3 in the power play. And we've got John McNally out in the middle. He's one of those 3 we talked about earlier. Donny's gone at the top of the run charts. And these 2 are sitting in at numbers 2 and 3. But a big job on now.
Yeah, really familiar sight, isn't it? These 2 out in the middle for the Reds. Left-hander into the mix. Slip comes in. He's another one. I wonder, Andy Balbirnie, if he asks the captain if he's allowed to go into slip, or he just heads in there. Change in personnel. Isaac Bird preferred to Miller in the ring. Called into action straight away. They'll take on that slight misfield. Didn't manage to gather, just palmed that off the mark straight away. So for LaRue, he'll have deep point and deep square. As he generally does, McBride motoring through this over. LaRue sweeps it to where that fielder was for Cian Hilton. Big effort in the deep. And they'll just about come back for the 3rd. Oh, John McNally, that was tight.
Yeah, good option there by LaRue for me. Good intent as well. That doesn't want to let McBride bowl to him, because he will do all day. And you mentioned there about him getting through the over. That's exactly what he wants. He wants to get the ball back time and time again. Just bowl very quickly. So Look at this field here now. Going to slip. Very short cover.
That's the end of the power play with a dot. Just 4 from the over and the wicket from that excellent over from Andy McBride. And it's pretty even Stevens at this point. In fact, the Northwest Warriors were ahead after the power play. They were 38 for 2. Munster Reds in reply, they're 34 for 3.
Yeah, and that's this partnership we've talked about, the Reds sort of being reliant on a few players, and these are the two really that we've seen over the past week or so. LaRue and McNally. LaRue certainly been very fluent. McNally maybe a little bit more dogged, but he's been very essential for the Reds. I want to see Scott Macbeth on to bowl. And we have a new voice in the commentary box. I'm delighted as Isabel takes a little break. Dave Surra. Welcome, Dave. Good to have you with us.
It's fantastic to be here.
Here in Belfast for day 3. Let's say Scott Macbeth about to bowl from the city end. You can see a bit of spin here now. Into LaRue. Well, Dave, you've been around the last few days. What have you made of the festival here in Belfast so far?
It's been very good watching. Very good watching to see how the teams go in this particular festival compared to last week. Got the ground conditions to contend with, different breezes and things like that. So fascinating to see how everybody goes.
Yeah, I think you yourself spoke to Harry Tector yesterday, and he was very sort of clear on that it's been a different sort of challenge from last week. Signal down to long off. Yeah, he mentioned about the ground size and the conditions and how it's been better for bowlers generally, that they've felt more comfortable. We've mentioned that bowlers do look more comfortable out there with they're able to build plans.
Maybe not getting those big scores we saw at the Mardyke.
Off the mark there for McNally. That's good. We talked about that in the first innings. That got to be ready to go from the non-striker end. McNally was straight away there and made the single quite comfortably.
Great to see those ones, and especially the twos, when those are measured out, hitting them out into the deep, calling early, going straight away.
I think it was really noticeable on day 1 from the Warriors. A little bit of bounce from Macbeth. Yeah, I think they had in that innings of 180 in day 1 here at Belfast. I think they scored 17 twos or something. Topping was sweating, let's say, under his helmet. Millie in the deep. Yeah, but that's kind of what we need as well. We need different tests for the players. It shouldn't be just hitting fast all of the time. So it's been different here, and the pitch has been better for bowlers, I think.
It's great to see those challenges, especially we'll have Breedy and Pembroke coming up. You mentioned those twos on day 1. Andy McBride, like the flash. As soon as he calls it, he's off, straight back. One of the great sights in Irish cricket.
Yep, and he ends the 7th, and another decent over from Macbeth. Boundaries in it. 39 for 3. Run rate of 5.57, and although it was less than 7 at the start, there isn't that much. They won't want that to go too much higher.
Fantastic moment in the game. Just having a look at those bowling figures. McBride coming into his second over now, 1 for 4, but lovely little battle, little mini event here in the game with McBride into the attack with a spinner from the other end. Testing out the Reds' mettle here in this chase.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think if you went round the Irish cricket circles and said, pick me a player you want in a battle, say too many. Would be outside number 35 there.
He's just such a good competitor, really is.
That's exactly what he is, and even that, he's a little bit disappointed that he managed to get back for 2 there.
Great piece of running from the Reds.
Yeah.
Fascinating to watch that field, who he's got in, who he's got out. Just to see what McBride feels here.
Well, that's as good a shot as we've seen today. Steps away to leg to try and open up the offside. We've mentioned about LaRue's classical technique. Have a look at this one.
Fantastic shot. All along the surface. Had that gap. But yeah, fantastic battle here. You've got McBride, competitor, experienced campaigner, against the young'uns here. Nally and LaRue.
Yeah, really good point there. They may be the 2 young players for the Reds, but they've kind of stood up outside of that huge innings from Doheny last week. These 2 have been the guys that have stuck their hand up for the Reds, and LaRue's been particularly impressive.
We had that LaRue 80 on day 1, was it, against the Lightning? 80 and 100 innings was 122, 120
yeah,
odd.
I think as he said, it was actually 120 off the bat, so he scored 2/3 of the runs off the bat for one team, and he'd come in at 4 or 5, I think, that day. So he just dominated that entire innings, and for somebody so young to do that on an interprovincial team, it shows his abilities, not just with a bat in hand, but mentally as well.
McNally's also impressed with bat and ball, so it's great to testimate in these sorts of situations. These are really the situations you want your younger cricketers in, especially against the experienced heads. Great to play with them, also fantastic to play against them.
Yeah, very much so. That's a really good point, that you know, you're putting yourself in these positions, but I want to see the Reds want to win this game. Now these 2 want to win the game and say, right, look, it's not just playing for us here, we're playing for our team. Actually put a performance in for your team. Yes, it's important individually to build your own profile and things like that, but let's play an innings that the coaches will say, yeah, I can rely on that guy.
Speaking of the young guns, Macbeth as well. Can't forget his role now to back up all that pressure that McBride's trying to build from the other end. 2 spinners wheeling away.
Yeah, McBride was in at slip. Going to come out to very unorthodox. They've obviously spotted something from McNally.
It's just important getting those angles right. A lot of space, obviously. Bigger ground dimensions here in Stormont.
Yeah, you can see McBride in at that sort of short cover.
Just sending a man out in the leg side.
He's just being told to straighten up here, McBride, and get out of my way. The man at long off says he can't see. So McBride does come a little bit straighter.
Nearly got a hand to it. And some different conditions today as well to contend with. It's obviously a bit sunnier, but a tiny bit more of a breeze. So you kind of wonder how that will come into it. Obviously bowlers like to use a breeze, hitting into that breeze as well. Factoring that into dimensions too.
I think you saw Ollie Riley suffer a little bit from that. He bowled at the city end to start with and was very impressive. And came back for his last over, was at this end, having to bowl into that breeze. And you're right, obviously trying to go for bigger shots towards the end of the innings. You really got to work with the breeze as well, because hitting with it can go an extra 5-10 yards.
Golly.
Up the 50 from the Reds. 50 up just at the end, almost of 9.
Some good work here from McNally and LaRue. Just kind of soaking up that pressure a little bit. That's what they need here after those 3 early wickets.
A little bit lucky there, LaRue looking to work that leg side. As you can see, he's been given us a run by the look of it. Yep, we got a little, obviously got a little edge on that. So 9 gone, 51 for 3. Just a little note at the bottom. You just look at the bottom there. It's now 88 off 11, so run rate's gone up to 8. So while they're consolidating, I can understand that they've lost 3 wickets, but just got to be careful because we've seen over these past 2.5 days it's not easy to score quickly, especially if a new man has to come in.
That'll be it. We've got these younger heads. They've done well so far. Don't want to get bogged down either. Keeping an eye on that required rate. Looks like we've a bowling change.
Yep, Robbie Miller. A really good first week in Cork. Been a little bit low key for him this week. Didn't bowl in the truncated game on Tuesday. Bowled a few wides yesterday, so I want to keep on the pressure here. Good start from him. Dot ball.
Really interesting to see how he goes. For spin, of course, so important in the T20 game.
Oh, just over Josh Wilson. I tell you, the outfield is still quick. That's just gone over Josh Wilson, but as soon as it bounced, just ran away from him.
Talk about dimensions, but quick outfield. Definitely have that to work with. Just evades the fielder. Cover.
Good early call. Again. 2 as soon as it beat McBride at cover. Back for 2. As you mentioned, Dave. Very important. Turn those 1s into 2s.
There's 2 left in the over. Got 6 off in the first 3.
Nelly in the deep. Keeps it to 1. Topping. 2 helping with that one. Fizzed in at him. He'll come around the wicket now for the final ball of the over to the left-hander.
It's good to see that Miller is comfortable with that change, going over, going round. Always very handy.
Yeah, be okay with that. Just the boundary. Not completely in control of the sweep shot, but it went to the boundary, so 8 from that. And after 10 overs, the Reds are 59 for 3. A nice little simple equation there, you can see. 80 from 60, there's your card, and again, the top order. Montgill again, he's been short of runs, and we thought didn't really need to go at Hume. And actually, Doheny fairly similar. Only time to go at Hume there. Big opening bowler. They've gone. Hilton went to a beautiful bit of bowling from McBride for just 1. These 2 trying to rebuild now, set a platform. That's thrown up by Macbeth. Just be 1.
That massive wicket of Doheny, man in form. Definitely gives Warriors a chance here. The wicket they wanted.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we were talking about at the time. And really, the Reds here didn't want to give them any sort of sniff, and if Dohney had still been here, for example, in the 10th, even though the run rate was slightly less than it needs to be, his perception would be that Dohney can catch that up. Not to say that these two can't, but less wickets. The perception from the Warriors would be is we're behind the 8 ball, even though the run rate is still climbing. If there were less wickets, and we just think they didn't need to go that hard. It's a little bit to the right of Nelly, but he does well again.
Interesting to see McBride and his options, who he goes with, what cards does he play with McNally and LaRue at the crease. We've had spin so far with them there.
Nicely taken. Topping. Yeah, he's missing a seamer. I think Sullivan having to miss out. A little injury from yesterday. It's been his usual go-to. Josh Wilson is his other seam option.
So a bit of work for him to do. A bit of head scratching maybe. Just go through the deck. See if he can mix it up.
So right to the boundary, and again, decent over from Scott Macbeth. Just 4 singles from it. And 63 for 3. 9 overs to go. Now you can see the bowling card. Graham Hume at the top. He's gone through 3, so they've actually only got 1 left from their Premier Quick. Wilson's had 2. But you can look at the economy rates on the right-hand side there. Only really Miller from 1 over, but everybody else going at a run a ball or less. And even though it's 138, that's still requiring 7 and over.
Interesting to see. Well, not going to continue at Miller.
Well, given that plenty, as Philippe Leroux, not your most conventional reverse sweep. He's thrown the kitchen sink at it, but got a good piece of it.
You see a vast array of sweeps and improvising from Leroux. Good balance in the end. Kind of maybe looked like he almost fell over, but no, he had it in hand and kept his head still enough to make great contact with that one.
Yeah, first ball of the over, we always talk about it, how key it is. Off to a good start for the Reds.
Just a single here. You wonder maybe if this is an over they could potentially target, considering that first over from Miller.
Yeah, and the first ball going to the boundary, I think. It's a good over they need now. If they can get one, it'll drag it right back.
It's great that he has that option. He's going around the wicket, as mentioned before, to the lefty. Just cramping up McNally slightly. So have a go on that bigger side of the ground.
Early call of 2. I don't think they'll get it. Good work on the boundary. Him. Not usually found on the outskirts of the field. That's aerial, and that's gone. You can hear the cheers from the Northwest Warriors. Straight to Andy McBride. And that's a huge wicket in this game. Philippe Leroux trying to go over cover.
He fancied that as a very big moment, getting rid of Leroux. That's exactly what McBride wanted. He says, brings in his leg spinner. You get me a wicket. Could have potentially been an over. They could have targeted. Just has the wood over the batter here. Hits it uppishly. Taken by the skipper. Says thank you very much.
Yeah, we're on a ball. 28 for Leroux. And it's 69 for 4 now. Playing for Sullivan Safi. We mentioned he maybe just kept himself in the team with that 20 yesterday. He's been struggling for runs in the first 4 games of the tournament. 20 odd yesterday, and maybe just kept him in the team. But today's the day for Sullivan Safi, I think. He wants to get his team a victory here. He's going to have to really knuckle down here now. Miller to finish the over. He won't get off the mark, so a successful over for the Warriors and Robbie Miller. 6 from it. And after 12 now, 69 for 4.
Big moment here, obviously in the game, but big moment here for Safi.
Big moment, big opportunity for Safi. Thanks to Ali McCalmont to Surat remaining alongside. It's our debut together, Dave. Are you enjoying the tournament so far?
Yeah, it's been fantastic. Some fantastic cricket. It's been different, obviously, to the Mardyke, as I was mentioning with Ali. Get that with different grounds, different conditions. But nonetheless, some great cricket on offer from our teams.
As a bowler yourself, I'm sure your bowlers union happy to see them back in as Isaac Bird comes into the attack. A thick edge to start him off. I don't think he has the pace, does he, for it to go to the boundary? No. And Safi does well. Fresh legs out in the middle, comes back for the 3rd. Nice little bit of shape there from Isaac Bird to start things off. The right arm spinner, drifting it in. I'll be happy to see 2 left-handers out in the middle.
First look at Bird to see, have a look at his bowling. It's our 4th spinner, I think, from the Warriors.
Yeah, they didn't have another seamer in the locker to call upon, so another spinner. And I was saying it earlier that of all the days of Interpro cricket, T20 cricket we've had, this is probably the best one to have 4 spinners in your lineup. Safi sweating on the back foot there.
Oh, fielded behind square there. Watching the bounce. Yeah, it's all about the deck. When you get through to this 3rd day of the festival, going to have some injuries to contend with.
Deft touch from Safi, a race to the boundary again, and I think the ball has won it this time. He's just about managed to get there as it's at the rope, literally almost placing it beside. Put in a good shift there, Josh Wilson, but the boundary does come.
Just played deftly, gets it through. Nothing wrong with his outfield though. Raced along. Ball just winning that race.
A little bit on the short side, and John McNally, no intention of coming back for a second. The other Wilson. Jared doing the fielding there at long on. 62 to win, 43 remaining. It's not quite as tough an equation today for Munster as it was yesterday. They lost that one chasing 177 against Northern Knights. Oh, I think he had different plans for that ball, John McNally. I think, yeah, if Hume had hit there, could have been trouble, but finishes with a single. A very useful over for the Munster Reds, 9 from it. And
Yeah,
after 13, 78 for 4.
Useful over, definitely. He definitely could feel the tension there when McBride came into the attack. Initially, just there at the end of the power play, you had McBride, you had Macbeth, you had Miller, Bird there as well. Maybe that pressure just easing up slightly. Of course, we've had the wicket of LaRue. McNally remaining at the crease, 14 off 17. Batting with Safi.
McBride now coming round the wicket to the 2 left-handers. McNally again not really getting going yet. We know he has the ability to go through the gears. A lot of rest on his shoulders now. Oh, on edge and down. Those have to stick. Didn't get close enough to that for me, John McNally. Possibly should have been on the front foot. But a chance for the left-hander.
Need a bit of luck to go your way sometimes. In that case, going the way of the Reds.
Couple of dots just building pressure here for John McNally. They can't afford quiet overs here. Calls of 2. I think he should come back. Hits it forward of the fielder in the deep on the offside, Robbie Miller.
Yeah, looks to make it pretty comfortably in the end. But yeah, fascinating to see when you've got your younger players like McNally, when they go, when they decide to stick or heat up a bit of pressure.
There's a fuller one skews that could have easily gone to the fielder. Hands on hips from McBride. He's frustrated. That's twice in the over that he nearly had his man. First one was a catch behind that didn't stick for Sam Topping. Second one just didn't go to Isaac Bird. No control in that shot. Safi looking to play it leg side. Once again takes the leading edge.
Yep, that second chance, just evading the fielder cover. Ryan frustrated, of course. Look, sometimes coming into it, but you got to ride your luck. You make your own luck as well.
And McNally, no luck there. Tries to beat the fielder in 45, hits it straight to Graham Hume. Another good over for McBride, 4 from it. 14 gone, and Munster Reds work to do. 82 for 4.
Yeah, fascinating contest, but always a fascinating contest when you have McBride there. Such an incredible competitor in these kinds of moments.
It's the kind of bowling lineup now where maybe these two have to pick a bowler. One big over, especially in a slightly smaller chase, can have a huge impact. Scott Macbeth replacing Bird. He just gets the one over for now. Safi again looking to go on the back foot.
Macbeth, the slightly more experienced competitor than Bird in this scenario. Yeah, you fancy it's that over. Which one will it be though?
Gives himself room, looks to get over the offside, and a good opportunity, a good effort I should say from Bird. He's been in the action coming into the team today. Hit the stumps a couple of times for close run out calls. Gave himself every opportunity there.
Swoops in there, but can't quite get hand to it. Can't keep it.
Shifts to the offside. I think he's changed his pace nicely today, Scott Macbeth. Hasn't been afraid to toss it up with that one a little bit quicker through the air.
Some great bowling there from Macbeth. Great to see those changes and reading the batter as well. Knowing when to go with those changes being so crucial.
Well, there's a lot of open space there for Cameron Melly to try and get back to the ball. I think they should come back for 3. They will.
It's a great piece of work there from Melly. A lot of ground to cover. Gets it in though.
So 5 from the first 4 deliveries of this 15th over. John McNally on strike now. Might be that point in time that he looks to take someone on. He's moved Cameron Melly straighter in the deep. And frustration from McNally. He's just got to take himself off to the side, have a quick word.
Yeah, it's definitely happening there. But yeah, crucial 2 deliveries and a crucial final delivery here this over.
Played away, gets it just between those 2 fielders. Just squeezed it away there, John McNally, and a crucial 4, as you say. Dacer, a boundary off the final. Just ruins the over ever so slightly. Another over goes for 9 after 15. Munster Reds 91 for 4.
Just perfectly bisects those 2 fielders behind square on the offside. McNally probably looking at his options. You wonder, was that exactly where he wanted it to go? Well, he got it through them.
Well, sometimes as a chasing team you can feel like you're a little bit behind, but actually Northwest Warriors were 89 for 5 at the same point. 1 or 2 more expensive overs was all it took to get them up to 138. And talk about picking your bowlers, of course there's another seamer in the lineup here. Josh Wilson replaces McBride, who's just holding 1 over back, maybe for an instance where They need a tight over. Something that I'm sure we'll see McBride bowl out, but Josh Wilson comes on. He's going to go well over the wicket to the left-handers.
We definitely will see. I fancy that final over from McBride. Just when he wants to hold it back exactly for what point in the game. Safi with 11 off 10. I wonder what his role will be here. McNally just under a run of ball. Had quite a bit of spin. Obviously, Warriors down a seamer. O'Sullivan, you'd say who they're missing.
And Safi just happy to hit the one.
Yeah, that's what you expect, really. Just turning strike over to your. Well, would you call John McNally your senior partner? He's quite a young player, but he's been at the crease and he's impressed for the Reds this season.
Yeah, I think you would call him senior partner in this lineup, considering his performances so far in the Interprovincial T20 Trophy. Current run rate just above 6, but required run rate still below 10. Need boundaries every over. Good hard line, good hard length from Wilson. And for now, I think for Northwest Warriors, no, you don't want twos, so the boundary fielder's kind of slightly in off the rope, but not job number one is try and go for one a ball. Not so worried about wickets at this point.
Yeah, lots of space there to work with. You want to turn those ones into twos. That's been the big story here in Stormont.
5 fielders out, cover third, fine, square and mid-wicket. So the space is straight if Safi wants to come down the track. Opts to just go for a single.
Maybe just holding back here. Pick their overs, as we were saying.
If you're going to pick an over, I think this is probably it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what you'd fancy.
The young bowler, Josh Wilson.
Yeah, exactly. McNally, the man with the plan, you suspect. Yeah, well, we've had some sunshine this morning. Blustery breeze too.
Yes,
So
pretty chilly where we are.
bit of cloud cover and yeah, a bit of chill too.
Yeah, down the pitch, John McNally eyeing up those two straight fielders.
There you go.
And he's just got to try and control the emotions there. You can see the frustration, and some players, they can hide it pretty well, others not so much. I don't think I'm used to seeing him show quite so much emotion out in the middle, John McNally, but needs to control it.
Yeah, he's shown quite a bit there. He's definitely having that conversation with himself. Don't think you'd fancy him in a poker game at this particular moment in time.
Unless he's the most expert double bluffer going around. Stands still this time. Strong shot through the offside. Trusts his hands. Finds the gap. 4 runs.
Yeah, perfectly fine through the gap. You suspect that's what he was saying to himself. Trust your hands. Perhaps not to get too bogged down. Not think too much. Just, well, see ball, hit ball in that scenario.
Well, it's one of the things coaches say, isn't it? You know, a lot of the time you want to be still. So if you're coming down the pitch, you actually want to be still on point of contact anyway. So it can be difficult against a seamer, especially Josh Wilson. He's got such a quick action at the crease. Tough to time your run down the pitch. So he's opted to stay still, and it's worked out. Stays still again. This time it'll be forward of the fielder in the deep. Lots of steps to put in. Oh, and where has that one gone? Come back.
That's what the
Says
fielder
John
was.
McNally.
That's what the fielder was saying. Just lost it slightly.
Well, job done for that over from Munster Reds. 10 runs in it. The little chat from John McNally he had to himself paid off. 7 in the final 2 balls to spoil what was looking like a good over from Macbeth. 101 for 4. The 100 comes up with that 3. 38 required in just 24 balls.
Yeah, you suspect whatever McNally's saying to himself, it's working. Trusting those hands. We've seen a few different batters through this festival moving around quite a bit. That's what you're going to see in the shorter form. We see in a lot of cricket these days. Moving around the crease, finding those scoops, improvising. LaRue obviously very good at it. McNally though, maybe it's just better to trust those hands.
Oh, missed out as Isaac Bird returns. And we just had the bowling figures in the bottom corner there. 3 overs remaining that Isaac Bird can bowl. Plenty of options for McBride. He's got 2 from Miller, 1 from himself. Jared Wilson's got 2 in the tank. Hume, that's an important over. He'll bowl that. Top edge. And Hume, who we were just talking about, with ball in hand, takes a good catch. Had to watch that for a very long time. Safi looks to help the ball around. And Isaac Bird gets his first wicket of the 2025 Interprovincial T20 trophy. Didn't perform with bat, but it's always good being an all-rounder because you can contribute with both. Safi goes for a run of ball 13, and just as Munster Reds looked like they were getting back into the game, they lose another one. 102 for 5.
Yep, it's not what Munster Reds needed at this particular point in time. You suspected, yeah, this would have been an over to target from Bird. But Bird's repaid as captain with a wicket. Hume with a very good catch there, making good ground, judging it well. A little bit of a breeze, bit of swirl to contend with. Good catch, well taken.
Yeah, good slide. I think that was a good option from him because it meant he could keep his eyes level. Wasn't worried about his footing or diving or rolling after taking the catch. Back to Nabi in at number 7 for Munster Reds. And he's in that position because he is a hitter. Has a very stylish way of coming down the pitch. And he's a right-handed batter as well, so that adds an extra element. Always good against an off-spinner in particular to have a right-hander at the crease.
Very excited to see how Nabi goes. Bit of flair, the way he plays.
I think he might be a better matchup because he likes to come down the pitch. So, yes, the spinners will have some guile and maybe try and get it past his outside edge, hold it back, but as a way of scoring boundaries, it feels like on this pitch today, coming down at the bowler and hitting over the top, slightly better than hanging back and looking to use the pace. But we shall see. 2 and point, cover out. Long off, long on, mid-wicket and square, very traditional. So they do know about the danger of him coming down the pitch. Isaac Bird bowling that one about halfway down. Just goes for 1. Good over so far.
Straight away getting your plans right. Doing your homework. Always very important for a spinner.
He's been watching a lot of cricket the last 2 weeks, Isaac Bird.
So he's been making notes, doing his homework. Getting the fruits of that today. Just pulling out there.
McNally 29 from 29. A lot rests on his shoulders. Goes the big shot, and that is a big heave-ho. 6 runs will help a lot. He said target your bowlers. It looks like McNally's targeted Bird. It's come off on this occasion.
This time, no conversations with McNally, with himself. Trusts his hands, gets it through the ball. Simple game there.
I think actually the first 2 balls of the over, they each tried to sweep, didn't they, and looked to keep it down. Maybe they've decided, or John McNally has anyway, slog sweep easier to execute. Fuller that time, be a single. Have to take everything on offer, yes. John McNally's the man who's in, but has to, at this point, I think, trust his partner.
Scramble through with that puff of dust. A little bit of dust on this dry wicket. Stormont.
A new wicket today. They've moved across down the pitch and quicker through the air. So a dot to finish. Pretty decent over from Bird. That's 6 ruining things a little bit. 9 from it. 8 off the bat, and after 17, Munster Reds 110 for 5.
Yeah, he'll take that, bar the 6, of course.
Well, they'll have to take the 6. There's nothing you can do about it. So 3 overs to go, 29 to win. Just below 10s. Still, the last 2 overs, yes, they've lost the wicket of Suleiman Safi, but they're staying up with the rate. And it's kind of over that. I think John McNally, maybe you're thinking a 6 and a 4 and then work it around, try and get ahead of the game. Robbie Miller back into the attack. Hume still has 1, McBride still has 1, so I think we'll see 1 from each of them in the final 2.
McNally's been trusting his hands, but we've got Miller here going around the wicket, kind of cramping the lefty. So what's McNally's option here? What's his go-to?
Look out leg side, I say. Oh, keeps it away from him. Good. They're going to take the single. Fielder set deep on the offside.
It's a good piece of bowling from Miller. Batters turn strike. They'll have to take everything, of course.
Well, I think John McNally will know they're going to try and get him off strike. So maybe the chat to Nabi is, you know, as we saw him in Cork last week, he's able to hit boundaries, have a dip. Down the ground. I think this should be 2. Nabi doesn't really get into any kind of position to come back. That's really poor running. Got it straight enough. The man in the deep is very wide, Jake Egan. He's got to do better next time.
Yeah, you fancy that will be crucial too if the Reds are going to pull off this chase. Turn the 1s into 2s, but at least being prepared for that.
And out. Looked leg side. Miller comes back on and gets the danger man. That's the big wicket they wanted. John McNally looked to hit from standing. Very difficult to do. We saw it from Jake Egan in the first innings. We saw it from McNally in this one. Good catch in the deep. Pretty easy for Scott Macbeth, but you still got to take them. McNally, he was the man they would have been hoping would take them home, but he goes for 37 from 33. 1, 6, 2 4s, and he leaves with Munster Reds in a perilous position, 112 for 6.
Good innings from McNally, but a great piece of bowling here from Miller. Round the wicket, makes him reach. Couldn't quite get enough of that, but great piece of bowling. Had him on strike earlier, managed to get him off strike, and this time dismissing the batter. So very good bowling, good accuracy as well.
It's an interesting plan, isn't it? Because he had everyone out in the leg side, and then he's bowling it quite wide outside off stump because he knows McNally's probably going to try and hit boundaries leg side, and just got the toe end of the bat. I think if he got closer to it, he could have actually pumped it straight between the fielders in the deep. But that brings Liam McCarthy out into the middle. Had a pretty good day with the bat yesterday, Liam McCarthy. Hitting a few boundaries right into that one that McNally was targeting. He'll have to do a few lusty blows here. Oh, just a little dab into the offside to get off the mark.
Smartly played. Yeah, he can hit a long ball. Liam McCarthy. Lefty replacing lefty.
17 from 9 it was yesterday from McCarthy. We were talking actually at the time about whether the Northern Knights would get the bonus point, and that 17 can put an end to that. Oh, and here's another chance in the deep. Another catch. He's been important for the Northwest Warriors.
Massive over here for the Warriors, and fantastic bowling from Miller. Come with the man.
So Nabi, look again, he looked to hit from standing. It's too big a boundary for that, you would think. 2 from 4, no boundaries for Nabi. And Munster Reds, did they leave too little too late?
That was always going to be the question, when they were going to go. Picking your options, picking the right time.
They just kept losing wickets. That's the problem. It's very difficult to launch when you don't have wickets in hand. Every time they looked to accelerate, Northwest Warriors had an answer. And Munster Reds, 2 bowlers who only bowled 2 overs each today. Both bowled well. Liam McCarthy is joined in the middle by Josh Manley. And he went 2 overs, not for 16. Liam McCarthy slightly better, 1 for 11 from his 2. But the introduction of Ali Riley into the bowling attack means that both of them shared a full spell. With Josh Manley and Liam McCarthy, 2 big strong boys, so they'll feel they can clear the boundary. 2 wickets, 3 singles in the over. And it'll be a dot to finish. Great spell that from Robbie Miller. Could he have maybe a chance of bowling a fourth? He'll certainly think so. 18 gone. Munster Reds 113 for 7. Our thanks to Dave Surratt for coming on comms. We'll hear a little bit more from him later on, no doubt. And I'm a comment. Nice to have a little break.
It is, and just to have a little look at a different perspective there. I've just taken a little bit of a walk around towards the players, and just take a little bit of perspective there, and obviously watched a bit of a change there certainly in the last over from Miller. Probably was going to be a big one. So maybe if the Reds could pick up a couple of boundaries, went the complete other way, and 2 wickets for Robbie Miller. And certainly now the Warriors on top, but as you mentioned, Izzy, 2 big boys out there. They can whack it over the boundary for sure. McCarthy, we've seen him in a couple of big shots yesterday. So McBride coming back for the 19th. A push for 2 here.
Yeah, they've got to come back, take on the fielder in the deep. It had to be perfect for Melly. I don't think anyone thought that there was a chance of run out there. I think for McBride it's going to be into the pitch. Don't give Liam McCarthy any opportunity to get the full swing of the bat in. Looks to do it there. That's not where he meant to put it at all. Good option though. I think hitting straight's difficult against the spinners here. The pitch the way it is. John McNally just showed maybe the way to go is try and hit it over deep mid wicket. Forget about going down. You've got to go up.
But yeah, McBride here on the 19th. See Graham Hume going through his little warm-ups here, so he'll be pretty much certainly going to bowl the last from the Dundonald end.
Manley has a clear plan to go down the ground. McBride gets it kind of under the bat and doesn't manage to get any elevation. Good intent from these two though. They certainly don't think the game is gone. They know they've got the ability. 22 from 9. Oh, straight back. And is that the wicket? Oh, that's not what they needed. You need a bit of luck to go your way. Josh Manley puts the hand up, says don't worry about it. Liam McCarthy, he got all of that, but McBride just about got the finger on. And maybe the luck just swinging Northwest Warriors way. Manley run out at the non-striker's end for just 1.
Yeah, he just goes to his partner there. Nothing you can do about that, as you say. Liam McCarthy got plenty of that. And another day, that deflection could even have gone for 4 if he just goes past the stumps there instead. It just ricochets back into the non-striker stumps there. There goes the hand, just a little touch. No chance for Manley really at this stage. Sometimes those are difficult decisions for the umpire, not on that occasion.
Yeah, not when you actually never get back into your ground.
Yeah.
Because that's the...
Not moving at all. And it's also a dot ball as well.
Yeah, that's the killer, isn't it? You think 4 and then it's actually wicket and dot. Ollie Riley in at number 10 for Munster Reds. McCarthy looks to try and hit it long off the back foot, doesn't get enough of it, so Riley manages to get back, puts the big strides in. That's home pretty easily.
Yeah, good effort from actually Ollie Riley there. First up, pretty heavy sprint up and down there for your first action. 20 needed now, 7 balls. Bound to be really handy here just to give him that chance in the last over. 20's a lot. Goes for the reverse.
That is perplexing. I'm not sure that's the high percentage boundary option. It's a single off the last, Liam McCarthy.
Maybe wanted to strike.
I think he was looking for the reverse 6, but
definitely think
had
so.
to settle for 1. 19 required in the final over as Munster Reds find themselves 120 for 8. And it's that time in the game where you start looking back on a couple of times twos weren't taken, some options that maybe weren't needed. Certain batters managed to stay in for 1 or 2 more overs, add a few runs here. But Northwest Warriors have done well defending what we think is probably just below par total, 138. I reckon par is 150. But they've bowled well, especially considering that they've had a new man come in. Isaac Bird's come in and done pretty well. Been actually excellent in the field. That's probably where he's added the most, but he's got in with a good wicket as well.
Actually, you mentioned about that little period of comms. I was standing outside and I visibly noticed and could hear the volumes from Andy McBride go up at about the 12th or 13th over. He realised it was a crucial period. So we're into the last. Here comes Graham Hume.
Oh, good start. Excellent stuff. He's looking for the wide there, Liam McCarthy. I don't think you'll get too many wides overhead height for Liam McCarthy, but very few for the man down the other end. Starts with a dot.
Yeah.
I think usually with tail enders, they like the ball up at their feet. They practice hitting bombs or full deliveries. So the fashion these days is for seam bowlers anyway to bowl pretty short at the back end, even though third and fine are in the ring. Nice little change up. Just didn't have the base set there, Liam.
Yeah, exactly
McCarthy.
what I was going to say. Just looked a bit, lost the shape there. Trying to hit the ball a little bit too hard. That's what happens when it's down to this level. It's got to go to the boundary. We've seen how difficult it is when you have to hit boundaries.
Yeah, we were in, you have to hit 4 every ball territory. Now it's entering, you got to hit a few 6s. Change in the field, long off goes back. See, backward point in to the ring. That's pick up. 2 straight from Graham Hume. There's the first of the 6s needed. And Liam McCarthy's got to keep telling himself this one's not gone.
Well, we've been begging for it for 6 days now, Isabel. We've been on duty here for the 6 days of the 2 festivals, and we finally got a final over one, and Liam McCarthy just keeps us and his team in the hunt. 13 needed from 3.
Have a look at that practice swing from Ollie Riley. He's very clearly hoping it's going to be more like a golf swing than a pull shot. He's getting ready to send one long if the opportunity arises. I just think Liam McCarthy's so strong over the leg side. Make him hit to the offside, because even if he gets one away, it's not probably going to be a 6.
Yeah, highly unlikely, and we saw exactly that shot yesterday when the game was done yesterday. You know, I think it was Tom Mays' ball and bowled exactly the same ball in at the hip, and he's able to get that full swing and pull it over that area. So couldn't agree more with you. Big expanses. It's not as if the offside here is a 40-yard boundary. No. It's a long way out there.
Sometimes it's the comfort of the bowler, what they like to bowl at the end of an innings, but you've got to think about what the strengths of the batter is, and it's very much that arc that we saw yesterday and today. So how do you get not hit for a 6 is what he's got to be thinking, even if it goes for 4.
Yeah, even a 4, yeah. So we've got a backward,
very wide third, maybe
wide third,
backward point, kind of between
wide third,
6
somewhere
of
there,
one, half a dozen of the other.
Another on the boundary in the offside, so that's an easy option. Sort of angle it across.
Yeah, I think full and wide outside off. You don't have to think wide line, because you don't want to start bowling wides really. But there's a man, a kind of a fly slip. He's very fine in third there on the ring, and if it beats him, I don't think it's sailing for 6. It could go for 4, but it's not going for 6. 13 required from 3, so 3 4s isn't going to be enough. He has to get a maximum. Blast it straight. That's going to be 4. So now 9 from 2 required, and in the tent, Munster Reds are starting to believe.
Yeah, I'm just looking across at them here, very intently now. They're not moving from their seats.
So I'm just going to have a gripe here. Why, if you're bowling that, do you need square leg out? You're bowling full and wide outside off, drop, mid off, and trust he's not going to be able to pick it up from fourth stump out, or kind of 4 stumps outside off stump and pick it up over square leg, even if that is a strong point for him. But
maybe the chat right now, maybe.
Yeah, for me, if this is what you're going to bowl, and I think it's a good plan against McCarthy anyway, drop mid off, bring square in.
Gonna stick with it though. Here we go.
2 straight, goes leg side, and that's going to go all the way, I think. Is it 4 or is it 6? That's the question.
I think it's 4.
A 6.
It is a 6. It is a 6. Yep, it's gone.
Andy Balbirnie in the deep signals. Shoulders just dropping ever so slightly for Northwest Warriors.
Yeah, in the slot. Needs to get that wider. You've talked about it, Isabel. Look at that's his shot. There's the ball coming down. Yeah, it has gone over.
Super over.
Yeah, here we go. You've mentioned it.
We've
been crying out for a last over. Not only have we got a last over, we've got a last baller. 3 needed. That boundary will do it. Here comes Hume. That's gone.
All the way for 6. Gets the legs. A famous win for the Munster Reds. Final delivery thriller. Liam McCarthy, 29 from 12. Perfectly paced innings from Munster Reds. It felt like that was Northwest Warriors to lose there come at the end, and Graham Hume goes ... 6-4, 6-6. Munster Reds. Oh, they bowled pretty well earlier. It was a shaky looking batting card, and then right at the end they managed to do the job. Big smiles all around for the team in red.
Well, certainly after 2 deliveries and 2 dot balls, I didn't see that coming, but McCarthy's pulled a little rabbit out of the hat there. 6-4, 6-6 to finish. What a finish from Liam McCarthy. What a real boost that'll be for him. Here we go. Here's was the last ball from Hume. Great levers from McCarthy there. He knew pretty much straight away. There's the little punch.
The punch at the same time as Graham Hume's head just goes straight to his chest. A bit of a head scratcher for me in terms of the tactics there from Northwest Warriors. They'll go back and have a look and I think maybe think tactically, did we have it right? But Munster Reds, Ollie Riley, little pat on the back. He bowled well, helped set things up. He's come into the team today. He was brilliant in terms of his bowling and ran well in the second over to make sure Liam McCarthy got most of the strike. Smiles on the faces of the Munster Reds, and it's taken to the final day of the Stormont Festival to give us a real nail biter. Munster Reds have that to draw on going forward, and yeah, really likeable team.
Yeah. There's your Warrior scorecard, having been put into bat. Talking again, got off to a decent start at a run of ball, but then McNally picked him up. Balbirnie had gone earlier. Then Egan set himself up, just got out at the wrong time, exposed that middle order of McBride, Hume and Bird, who can only get single figures. But then a couple of good partnerships at the end. Macbeth 24 and Jared Wilson with 20.
Yeah, lots of little partnerships, and that was very much the story of the day for the Warriors anyway. Topping and Egan looking good before Topping was dismissed, and then a couple of partnerships in the teens in the middle order. Egan and Macbeth went at a pretty good rate, 29 for them, and then the tail doing a good job to elevate that total to something that they'll probably feel they should have defended.
The Reds have a little bit of a different lineup today in terms of the bowling, usually just with 5-7 today. The 2 spinners at the end there, Nabi and Safi bowling 6 overs for just 26 and taking 3 wickets. McNally again, 2 wickets for him for just 17. I got to point out Ollie Riley there coming in for his first game of the tournament. Got a wicket early on, but it was pretty economical. 1 for 28 from his 4 overs.
He was so impressive, wasn't he? And he got to watch the chase from the other end at the end. He got naught from naught, but he got to watch McCarthy there, the red line, 29 from 12. He was the finisher, set up by the middle order as usual. LaRue and McNally did the grind along with Safi, who got 13 from 13, but the top scorer, John McNally, once more 37 from 33, as there were plenty of contributions.
Yeah, you mentioned the middle order there, 24 up top. I thought they should have really set that up a little bit more, but then the middle order of LaRue and McNally with the top partnership of 39, McNally and Safi with 33, but really it's that last partnership. Riley, 0 from 0, McCarthy, 25 from 8.
Really good bowling cards by and large. The head scratcher was Hume at the end, 2 for 39 from 4. He went the distance in the final over. All the bowlers performed well, maybe aside from Josh Wilson, 0 for 10 from his 1 over. Miller, really impressive, 3 for 17. His last over looked like he'd done the job for the Northwest Warriors. McBride, impressive as well, as always in this tournament, 1 for 23 from 4 for him.
Yeah, so look, there's your match summary for today. We've been crying out for a last over game. It went right down, in fact, to the last ball. The Warriors 138 for 8. It looked like they'd done the job as it came into that last over, and indeed it ended up with the last 4 balls from Liam McCarthy, who ends up with 29 not out from 12 and gets a famous win for the Munster Reds. They've won off the last ball. So a great game to open up this final day of the festival here between the Reds and the Warriors. We've got a big game coming up this afternoon at 3:45 between second place Northern Knights and the title topping Leinster Lightning. Join us just before 3:45 for that top of the table clash between the Knights and the Lightning.